friends and fellow Buffy lovers, and welcome to our podcast, where we discuss each episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer in detail, focusing on digging deep into the themes, metaphors, and foreshadowing. I'm Leah.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Tabby.
And this is Becoming Buffy.
Hey Scoobies, Sarah here. Before we get into the episode, I wanted to give you guys a few announcements. First of all, we will be placing a trigger warning on this episode as we will be discussing topics such as suicide and self-harm. If that is something you are sensitive to, I highly recommend not listening to this episode simply because it will be sprinkled throughout. Also, this episode will be airing on July 1st, and after which we will be taking a couple-week break and we'll be coming back with Bad Eggs on August 5th. So don't worry, we haven't gone anywhere permanently. It's just a temporary hiatus. We will be back in August to finish strong with season 2. So until then, you guys, enjoy this episode. Hey guys, welcome back to Becoming Buffy. Today we are talking about I Only Have Eyes for You, episode 19 of season 2. But we have a very special guest with us, Destiny. Hi, Destiny. Thanks for being with us today.
Hi.
All right. So we always make our guests introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about how they came upon Buffy, how long they've been watching Buffy for, anything else. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I've pretty much grown up my whole life with Buffy. I was first introduced to Buffy, just watching it on TV as it reruns when I was 10 years old. And, they would come on random episodes, so I didn't really know what season I was on. I was just like, hey, this is cool, Vampire Slayer. And then my mom kind of made me stop watching it because of obvious reasons. And so maybe within that same year, we'd be at Best Buy or Barnes and Noble, and I would be going down the DVD aisle, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is Buffy. Mommy, can I buy this episode or whatever? It's $20. And my stupid self, I'm just I want to own Buffy, just get me Buffy. And so I made her buy me that season, and it was season 3. And then it just kind of became every year for my birthday or for Christmas, I would get gifted a season of Buffy, but it would be totally out of order. So it'd be season 3, then season 6, then season 1, then season 7, then so on and so forth. And it wasn't until I was 18 that I got the full collection. But the nice thing that I loved, that even though it was out of order, it was kind of piecing together a full puzzle. And so every year when I would get a new season, I would start from the beginning of whatever season I had. So then I would start to watch it fully in full cycle. So I've literally watched Buffy over and over for years, almost every year. It wasn't until maybe last year or the year before that I haven't watched Buffy in that year. So I've constantly just always watched Buffy. And the nice thing is in knowing Buffy in those retrospects, I when going through my own life, and the own different trials and things that I would go through, I would know hey, season 6 is going to help me heal through this, or season 5 is going to help me go through this. So things like that. It's been just Buffy has been with me through these things.
That's really cool. I think that's such a unique way to watch the show. And you probably picked up on things and grasped certain things. Probably if you watch season 6 first and then go back and watch season 4 or whatever, you're oh, you would probably start to point out and pick out little things, in different character development that most first-time viewers probably didn't even notice, until their second or third watch.
What's wild to me is the fact of the specific order that you got. And I'm just that. You went from 3, which is a great season, but oh my gosh, some dark themes. Amazing. And then going from a teaser to season 6 to straight season 6 and being what is this show? And I feel the fact that you became a fan out of watching those two out of order just really amazes me, because I feel you can only really truly appreciate 6 if you've seen all the other seasons. And then you went and watched season 1. So to go from 6 to
Whiplash,
1,
man.
The hardness and then the innocence of season 1, just wild.
And it's hard because it's you think about obviously the people who this is the non-spoiler section, so they don't know what each season holds. And so when we're like, oh my gosh, jumping seasons is crazy, like they can only grasp, a fraction of how crazy it is to just jump around to certain seasons. So I think that, Tabby's right. The fact that you have stayed around, like, after jumping through all those seasons really shows the fact that you're a true fan.
I think I tried to piece together from what I remember seeing on TV, from what I was able to.
That makes
and so
sense.
there were some episodes from season 1 and season 5 that I vaguely remember that I was like, ooh, okay, so I kind of know what's going on. Like, so I know the big things that happened in season 5 that would be important to know in season 6. So I was like, okay, I kind of get it. I kind of get what's going on here, but still, like, the heavy themes in both season 3 and season 6, it's like, I don't know. I think, man, I might have been like 11 or 12, like, getting those and, like, not fully appreciating and understanding for a reason. Good reason as a 12-year-old. But, like, as I got older, like, realizing as I would rewatch, like, oh, these are heavy. But at the time that I was older, I had the other seasons to kind of fill and give it that deeper meaning.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I think we all can relate with that, and most everybody can who watched the show younger. Is, there's themes that you didn't pick up on and full storylines that you didn't fully grasp until you were much older and watched it your third, fourth, however many time. And I think that's just what makes this show so rich, is you can kind of appreciate it at any age. And you can go back and get something new out of it at each rewatch, which I don't know that I can say that for many shows.
Yeah. Well, also digs through every single thing you can think of and like the fantastical world and real life. So I feel like there's stuff that I watch and I really feel when I watch it. But then if I haven't gone through it, it's like there's certain things that I myself have not gone through. And so I know that if I ever do, and some of them I will have to go through in the future, it's like if I have to watch those episodes again, it's going to hit me way differently.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Or even just like I've been a fan for years and years. And then I was telling Destiny earlier, like I stopped watching just because like I was like the only one in my family at the time, other than Sarah, but Sarah lived in a different state, that like watched Buffy. Because my sister Hannah, I think, has seen a little bit, but it wasn't really her thing. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to push through. And then I like watched a certain episode in season 6. I was somewhere in season 6. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, this is nothing how I remember the show being at all. And then I like pushed through or whatever. And then coming back and rewatching, we keep talking about season 6, but it's true. It's like when you go through,
if you know, you know.
When you go through some of the stuff that's represented in season 6, coming back to it, you're like, you feel it so much more, and it's so much more impactful, because it's like, even though it is a fantastical show, they really either dig through deep stuff either with metaphors or with real life stuff. And so it really hits you, because you're like, and Leah and I were talking about this on the drive back, our drive up here today, and we were talking about how much like shows and movies are more than, because people kind of find it funny that I just get so wrapped up in shows and movies, and they don't understand it because they're like, it's fake. And I'm like, okay.
Destiny's face.
I'm like,
I mean,
it is, but it's like a lot of people, when they thought about the idea of like the directors, the producers, or the writers, when they were sitting down, they're like, I've either gone through something like this, I've experienced someone like this, or I want to represent something that is important to me. It's coming from a piece of them, and some of the actors and actresses really just like, especially Sarah Michelle Gellar, especially this show, where they're like, I've gone through a lot of this, or even like some of the actors were going through a lot of stuff that the characters were going through at the exact same time. And so it was like, you see the pain and it's real for them, and it's stuff that people have actually gone through. So it helps people, you know?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, same thing for music too, I mean, just because it's fictional, or just like, it still, like you said, it helps people feel, and it helps them cope, and it helps them heal in some ways too. Like, it could be fiction, but the concepts, the plots are still in some ways reality.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, Destiny, tell us why you wanted to talk about this episode in particular.
Oh, God, put me on the spot. Honestly, so when Tabby had asked me like eons ago about like one of my favorite episodes, this one did come to mind as far as like the season, just because it it makes you feel like the dialogue, the context. It has one of my favorite quotes, especially from Giles on it, that I definitely take to heart because it reminds you. And again, I think like a lot of the hurt that Buffy feels and goes through and the healing that she has to go through is definitely a lot of what I think I've had to do in my own life and what I've I don't know, just seen and just like you feel it. I'm such an empath, guys.
You're talking to 3 of us who are the same way. So.
I seriously am like if I'm like that type of person that if I see in the commercial somebody's crying, I'm gonna cry.
Oh, girl, me too.
So, it's bad.
Buffy is the best place for us to do that.
Oh my gosh, yes. So it's just definitely one of those things that like you definitely can immerse into this episode and it just has a lot to give you. And I love like the vibes. It's truly scary. Like when I first saw it when I was younger, it legitimately gave me nightmares. Like Zombie James was terrifying. And so like it's a ghost episode, like all of these things. Like there's so many things to love about it, I think. So I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
And the acting.
It's just, it's well written. It's well acted. It's well shot. There's not much that's amiss about this episode. It's really, really well done. And I think so many people sleep on the back half of season 2 because you have some of these episodes that are mediocre. And so then, or there's more, I guess I should say, standalone episodes. And so I think people sleep on this episode in particular because it's wedged in there with some maybe like not fantastic episodes where in actuality, I think this is one of the more underrated episodes of the series or of this season at least, you know?
Yeah, totally.
So, all right, let's jump in and talk about I Only Have Eyes for You. You guys ready?
I only have eyes for you.
Okay, I think that means she's ready. Okay. All right, so written by Marty Noxon, who I think at this point is like won the award for writing the most episodes, even more than Joss Whedon. Directed by James Whitmore Jr., aired April 28th, 1998. I Only Have Eyes for You is the title's based off of the song I Only Have Eyes for You by the Flamingos, which is the song we hear throughout the entire episode. It was technically written in 1959. That's one of like the biggest goofs about this episode. It's technically 4 years after this was set. I know.
Like you guys are going to do your research.
I know. It's a little, I feel like that's kind of like, they were like, oh, but I really like this song. Okay, whatever. Nobody will know. Yeah, right.
But why couldn't they make the episode plot in 1959?
That is true. That's true.
They're like, oh, darn, we
or
only have this old yearbook that says the 55, so we have to use this yearbook.
That's true.
Like, we got to use this prop.
Especially since the year really doesn't have anything to do with the plot.
Yeah.
Like, flashbacks could have been set in, like, the 80s, and it would have still been fine with the plot.
Right.
Like, it really had nothing to do with
Well, I think it was supposed to be the 50s because it was a little bit more taboo in the sense of like the teacher. I mean, it's still definitely taboo to have a relationship.
Yeah, I was about to
with
say,
your
I was like,
teacher.
I hope it's still taboo now.
It is, but I think the idea was that it's set in the 50s. Things were a lot more like all about appearances and all about. So it would have been like, obviously, it's still a bad thing now, but it would have been like completely like we shun you from society, not just for the teacher, but for James himself. You know,
right?
So I think that's why they decided to do it, but. I don't know. Yeah, it's a little interesting that it's set in the 50s and
they still could have done it in 59.
They really could have. 4 years does not make a huge difference.
65. 60s is still the same thing.
Yeah. Well, 60s was when the hippie era was happening, right?
It would have had a whole different vibe. Yeah. So, all right. Marty Noxon loves ghost stories. She said that when she wrote this, she was like, I know my mom will cry when she sees it. Said that prior to working on the series, she had written several times about ghosts, which for her are figurative expressions of the need for repentance and second chances. She drew on her own family background, saying, I realized that I was constantly telling the story of my family and fears, which I think is why this episode is so hard-hitting, because you have Marty over there, like literally pouring her own fears onto paper, which, I mean, those make for the best episodes. Cynthia Bergstrom, the the costume designer. She talks about how she was actually, not literally, but she was haunted by the character of Jenny Calendar because she kept accidentally shopping for her character when she was out and then realized that Jenny was not there anymore.
Aww.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that kind of sad?
I think that's the saddest fact you've had.
From the Watcher's Guide. So although the show has dealt with many disturbing subjects up until now, this was the first one that prompted a public service announcement. Following the end of the final act, Sarah Michelle Gellar did a voiceover on the dangers of teen suicide and giving information on the American Association of Suicide Prevention, which makes a lot of sense. I think this episode, you kind of forget that James actually does commit suicide, at the end because there's so much other stuff going on and because we don't actually see it, like Buffy gets stopped and stuff, but that's a very real thing. And I think that it's really good that they put that on there.
Well, I forgot that James even does that in the episode. Because I just haven't seen this episode in a while. And I think you're right, Sarah. There's so much going on that you kind of forget. And then when Sarah Michelle Gellar or Buffy, is about to do it, I was reminded, I was like, wow, that's really sad. That's really heavy. I kind of forgot that, that was even in there. So I'm glad that they did that in the episode.
Yeah,
totally. That was really necessary.
Yeah.
And I think even the scene itself, where you see Sarah Michelle Gellar looking in the mirror and she's representing James, I just know from personal experience where I suffered from attempted suicide multiple times. And that feeling of numbness, they truly put it there, you can feel it from Sarah. She's just looking right there and she's just I feel nothing. I just can't. And that's a lot of the times where I could definitely see why they would need to put that there, because that alone is that exact feeling that someone who is wanting to commit suicide feels and thinks and has,
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think a lot of this episode, when you see Buffy kind of walking down the halls and stuff, it's a lot of times a dreamlike state. And I think it's supposed to showcase how numb Buffy actually is throughout the episode, in the fact that we've been watching her, and we'll kind of get to this later, but we've been watching her for episodes now, really wrestling with this kind of guilt and this self-loathing and this anger and all this stuff. And she's gotten to the point, when she was sick last episode and killed by death, she got to the point where she's finally just she's been in so much pain that she's just numbing herself. And so I think that is very representative of someone that's gone through so much pain to where they choose not to feel anymore. This episode is how you do a Monster of the Week episode. The Monster of the Week moves the plot forward, but the main character also grows, which also moves the plot forward. Most everything I read and every person I talked to says that this episode is underrated and that they didn't like it or appreciate it the first time they saw it and thought it was too melodramatic. And then they would go back the second time and be like, oh my gosh, there are so many deeper themes that I missed simply because I just thought it was, a stupid ghost episode. I was reading reviews of the episode and a reviewer said this and I thought it was really well done. They said, if season 2 was a play, surprise/innocence would be act 1, passion would be act 2, I Only Have Eyes for You would be act 3, and the finale would be the final act. Because they kind of deal specifically with Buffy. And I mean, every episode has little bits of Buffy in there, but really delves into Buffy's character growth and kind of is pushing her along through the season and getting her to where she needs to be by the end of it.
I actually noted that in this episode that this episode, is interesting and it's amazing, but it really does a lot for Buffy's character and it really shows you a lot of where she is mentally and what she's thinking, what she's processing, and I mean I'll talk about it more when there's things that come up, but there's a few times where she's talking and she's really showing, without actually saying it, but she's really showing how she's feeling.
And Sarah Michelle Gellar, so much of this episode is shown how Buffy's feeling, not necessarily said, and you just see it on her face. And I don't know. You know how you go through different things at different times in your life? And I'm going through a time of my life where I just really relate with a lot of what Buffy's going through. And I'm just oh my goodness, this episode hits way different when you're going through some stuff. All right, so the episode's theme is forgiveness. Not just forgiveness, though. It is about letting go. In the episode, Giles lets go of Jenny. James lets go of Grace after refusing to let her go. Buffy lets go of her guilt and anger. And I thought that was a really good theme, especially because the episode before we talked about this briefly, but Killed by Death, Buffy literally gets physically ill because she's holding in all her emotions. And I thought that that was like a really good theme for an episode right before finally just like, okay, I'm coming to a place of acceptance and I'm kind of just, choosing to move forward.
Also, Spike lets go of his wheelchair.
Oh, yes. How could I have forgotten? Buffy feels it's her fault that Angel turned into a monster, even though it's not. She feels she made a hasty decision in a moment of blind passion and can't forgive herself. She thinks she deserves to be punished for her actions, which is really sad because it's not at all what happens. And I think it speaks a lot to Buffy's character that she puts so much on herself, too.
Yep. And then, the 2 episodes ago, Xander does some crappy things and doesn't feel any remorse. And they're like, let's put all the guilt on Buffy.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I know. Gosh.
Poor girl really goes through it.
But I think that also points out, like, Buffy's moral, like, sensibility in, like, obviously the difference between Xander and, he's, yeah. But like Buffy is going to hold the weight of the world on her shoulders, literally. And, emotionally, we're everything she does, whether that's saving the world, whether that's being, a good daughter, a good girlfriend, a good friend. Like, she has a high standard for herself that she feels that she needs to uphold to. And not that anybody else is putting that bar for her, but like automatically holding herself to that. And if she's not meeting it for herself, it's going to be a lot harder on her.
It's a lot of self-condemnation. I also thought it was really interesting that there's a lot of parallels between Buffy and Giles in this episode. You get to see Giles dealing with Jenny's death. I think he went through denial and anger and passion, and it kind of feels like he went through the last 3 stages in this episode. He goes through bargaining, depression, and acceptance, finally. I think that both him and Buffy are wrestling with loss and grief. Both are called on by the Spirit, which is interesting because there was something in James that saw pain in Giles.
Yes. I didn't even realize that until this episode too.
Yeah. But I think it's interesting that James stops calling out to Giles because Giles accepts earlier on than Buffy does. He recognizes what Buffy doesn't get till the end of the episode is that you have to forgive yourself. You have to move forward. You can't hold on to pain and bitterness and grief and all that stuff. And he gets that, like that moment with Willow when he says, no, this isn't Jenny. That's him kind of letting Jenny go versus Buffy holds on to that until the end of the episode. But I love that. I love that there's a reason the Spirit was trying to call into Giles. Like, I thought that was so good.
I didn't think about that, but I definitely saw the correlations of, like, you can see it when Giles, then they're trying to reason with Giles, like, who's this ghost? And he's like, it's Jenny. I'm right. You're wrong. No, you're not going to, like, all of that. And then a few scenes later, Buffy's doing the same thing. She's just, like, attacking with her emotions, and she's not going to listen to any reason. It's what she is feeling, and you could definitely see it and feel it.
Yep. All right. So Joss Whedon says, this is a sort of ghost story. It replays the death of one of them because they're trying to make it right. The twist being that in the end, David is possessed by the spirit of the woman and Buffy is possessed by the spirit of the man. That was a really interesting exercise for them and for us to watch. Seeing David open himself up to playing this very emotional female role and doing it excellently without being silly, without overdoing it, and without shying away from it, as a lot of male action stars might, was an extraordinary thing. Every show we come up with deals with some emotion, some emotional arc that we then balloon into a sort of horror story. This episode is really about forgiveness. It's about Buffy who thinks she can't forgive Angel for what he's done, but in reality can't forgive herself, and she sort of learns that she's done something others have done, that she can be forgiven, that she can move on. There's a redemption out there for her. All right. Finally jumping into the episode. So we have this really cool song. It's Charged by Splendid. The singer is Angie Hart, and she actually appears in Firefly in the episode Heart of Gold, and she sings the song Amazing Grace. I don't know if any of you guys have seen Firefly, but in case you haven't, I need to see Firefly, actually. I haven't actually seen it. I'm a horrible Whedon fan.
Something Sarah hasn't seen? I haven't seen it either. I can't even sit here and act like that's a surprise.
Have you seen it, Leah?
Sarah.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, of course.
No, you haven't. You
She
little
hasn't.
liar. What the heck?
I'm not like a diehard fan. I don't know. Firefly never stuck for me, really.
Well, you
The
guys are not as
concept-
dedicated as I am.
You know what? Shush. Glass houses. Or was it like, yeah, glass houses.
Dollhouse. I watched the first 2 episodes of Dollhouse and I liked it. I forgot to keep watching.
Oh, no.
It was good though.
Oh no. So this is one long drawn out shot, and I can't even imagine how many times they would have had to redo this, because it starts off with a close up of the singer and the band, and then it kind of backs out and pans past Cordelia and Xander dancing. And then you go to Willow looking up at the balcony at Buffy, who, by the way, is looking fabulous in gold pleather pants and a black V-neck spaghetti strap. All her outfits have just been killing it recently.
I know. I'm like, I could never wear gold leather pants. That would be disgusting. She looks
Also,
great.
I think this is the first time we've seen the balcony since like the first episode in the first season. I like forget that the bronze has an upper part.
It's definitely been a while. I think it's the harvest. We definitely saw it there too. I think it's probably the first time since season 2. I don't know. But yeah, it's been a while. Ben with the super flashy purple shirt comes up. And they talk about how they had Algebra 2 the year before, but this dude does not look like he's in high school at all. I was like, wow, what are they feeding them in Sunnydale? He asks Buffy, wants Buffy to ask him to the Sadie Hawkins dance at school. He seems super sweet. And when she kind of tells him no and rejects him, he takes it really well and is like, oh, okay, I can tell. And he like tries to back away without making her feel guilty. And I was like, Xander, this is how you take a rejection. Are you taking notes, dude? Please.
But also just Buffy talking how she was like, oh, I'm not going to date ever again, actually.
Yeah.
Which is just like it's so funny because I feel like that's how so many people feel after they go through a breakup. I know
Yeah.
that's how definitely I felt. I was
Mhm.
like, I don't even want to look at another man ever in my life. I was like, I'm done. But it's also just so funny that she's like dead serious. Like this guy's kind of like, oh, ha. And she's like, no, I'm serious. I don't want to date ever again. And you're kind of like, you know what, Buffy? We don't blame you. I wouldn't
Yeah.
either if I went through what you went through.
Well, she also goes into detail about it when she's talking with Willow. Sorry if I'm jumping
No, you're fine.
pace.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
But, she's just like the last, impulsive decision that I'm going to make is my choice of dentures. Like, going in, like, she's just like, no.
Yeah. I think it was interesting that she's not saying no to a date with him because she's not necessarily not ready to date, which, I mean, she's not, but that's not the reason. The reason she's going is she's still punishing herself. And I think there's also a part of her that doesn't want to hurt him. I think she's thinking, oh my gosh, any guy that gets involved with me, like I'm going to hurt them. And it's just sad to see Buffy in this cycle of pain. So then this conversation with Willow, she's like, I'm going to go stop by the library and then go home to sleep. Willow, you've been doing that a lot lately. You're kind of been all work and no play, Buffy. You came, you saw, you rejected.
I love Willow. Don't get me wrong. I love her and I think that she has the best of intentions. However, in this scene, she kind of makes me a little upset simply because, and maybe this is me reading into it, but she seems very pushy. I'm very like, I'll go date, go do all these things, blah, 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 blah. And it's like,
Get over it.
allow Buffy. Yeah.
I see season 1 Buffy in Willow right now. Like, see the
Yeah.
parallel of, like, how
Yes.
Buffy was like, seize the moment. And that's exactly what Willow's doing is seize the moment, have fun.
Yes. And like I said, I don't think that she's doing it mean or anything like that. I think it's just like, especially when you take into consideration the kind of pain and just like trauma Buffy has gone through, I think it's a little insensitive to just be like, well, just go date a guy. Just go try. When it's like, the last guy she dated literally turned into a vampire, like lost his soul and is out there killing people. Like, allow her time to heal. Allow her time to mourn on her own time.
But also, like, no one else has to carry the burden other than herself. It's not like you and your partner go through something that's awful that they both caused in the situation. It's not like Angel, as a supportive boyfriend, can both work through whatever it is that they did in an actual real life situation. But it's like Angel's literally a different person who does not give a crap and wants to kill her, and she has to deal with it causing, like, having all this guilt on her, knowing that she turned her boyfriend into what he is.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting point, because something that I was thinking about is I think the way Willow copes with stuff is she keeps herself busy, and she like throws herself into projects and or does research or does all this stuff, because we're watching this episode. The way that Willow's coping with Jenny Calendar's death is she's digging into her files. She's, learning about, her paganism and all that witchcraft and stuff. She's like, she throws herself into teaching and to doing those hobbies. And you've seen that in previous episodes where as soon as she found out vampires were real, to kind of cope with that, oh my gosh, trauma, she's like, all right, well, let's research it. I want to find out everything I know about them. And so I think there's this sense of like, if I understand it, it will help me work through the emotions that I'm feeling. And so I think this is kind of what Willow's trying to tell Buffy is like, hey, like just jump back into dating, or like keep yourself busy to kind of occupy yourself, because that's what Willow would do. And so I don't know that she might be, you can be insensitive when you're still trying to be helpful. And I think that's what she might be doing, is she's thinking that's helpful because that's what works for her.
And it could be like she did help a ton in this episode by helping figure out what to do when it came to James. And
Absolutely.
So when you find your own like way of helping someone else when they don't have to carry certain burdens on their own, then she's super helpful. But it's like when you're trying to correct them by how they're going through their process and tell them to do things to cope in certain ways that are unhealthy, how you cope, that's when you like, okay, let this person, if she doesn't want to date, she doesn't have to date. Like, you don't have to like get over things like by jumping into the next thing. If she's feeling cautious, like allow her to go through that and explore that and figure out a healthy way, as we all know Buffy will. Like, Buffy's not a reckless person. Buffy's not somebody who doesn't think through things. She's somebody who has to process things, figure out a way for her, and she'll always come back.
Yeah, I agree with Tabby. I just think that one of the most damaging things you can do to a person when they're going through something really hard and just very emotional is trying to tell them how they feel that and how they process it, because it kind of almost invalidates their own experience and their own feelings.
It sounds like you're trying to correct them rather than listen.
Or even invalidates the past relationship, how deep it was. I think Willow's forgetting that like this wasn't just like a fling. This was a man that she was like absolutely like in love with, and Willow knew this. I mean, Buffy was talking about a future with him, So I think that Willow's forgetting that in this instance. Again, not being a bad friend. I think that comes with maturity too, recognizing that like how to be helpful, how to listen versus just sitting there and be like, well, like get over it, But yeah, that's interesting. And she does say, we get a nice little summary of the season. Okay, the Angel thing went badly, but that's not your fault. And anyways, love isn't always like that. Love can be nice, which is a good reminder. But again, it's also like, okay, Willow, easy for you to say while you're going through like all the good stuff right now. And Buffy knows this. She's like, she obviously had sex with him. She knows love can be nice. Like there are good things about this. And so, yeah, I think it is a little insensitive, but yeah, it's like they had to kind of write that in there so that, first time viewer, you can be like, okay, this is where we're at in the season. Also, I want to point out that I thought this was really cool. The Sadie Hawkins dance is kind of a clue for the end of the episode. So the idea with Sadie Hawkins is it's customary for guys to ask girls, but the roles are reversed in that girls ask the guys, giving a bit of foreshadowing that the roles will be reversed later on the episode, which I thought was really cool.
But also, like, there are the rules reversed gender-wise, is mentioned several different times in different ways in this episode. You find out with Sadie Hawkins, the girls ask the guys, and then the pedophile teacher is the female, not the male. Sorry, but that's what it is.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's what it is.
You're fine.
But normally it's like a male, right? And then at the end, it's like you think that Buffy is gonna play the role of the teacher when she's actually James in that situation because he relates to her.
Which, I know that, she was murdered and all that, and that sucks for her. But, also, why does no one react when they're like, oh, yeah, this teacher and this student were in a romantic relationship, and everyone's like, oh, that student sucks for killing her. But then you're also like, yeah, but that teacher was also, not supposed to be dating him. That was her student.
In her defense, she was trying to break it off.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah,
that's why.
But she also started it.
Well, we don't know that she started it. He could have hit onto her.
She gave him a book about how the teacher and the student were in love. How is that not starting it?
Well, Leah, we didn't see
context.
that's context. Yeah. We didn't see the beginning of the relationship. They could have. It could have easily been the other way around. Either way,
even still, he's a minor. Well, no one's saying
going into it is wrong. Going in.
There's a strong possibility he's a senior, he's 18, which means he's not a minor, but it's still an abuse of power and a position over him. And I don't think the episode is trying to tell us at all that is a good relationship. I don't think they are.
When you also think about the dialogue that happens, that when James and Grace are possessing people, like, this is something that's not supposed to happen. Like, you can't have a normal life. You know, these are things, like, they have to give a relationship that would correlate for Buffy and Angel.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's a really good point. They had to do something that had a little bit of a reason why they couldn't be together to mirror and match Buffy and Angel's relationship. Again, it's the whole, like we've talked about before, you know, the metaphor versus what's actually happening in the episode. You know, we all agree that that's not healthy, not okay, but
pedophiles are not a fan. We're not fans of pedophiles.
We are not advocating pedophilia. I feel like we went through this at Teacher's Pet and here we are all over again. All right, so back at school, two teens are fighting each other. This whole episode plays out like a poem. It's just beautiful because you have multiple times 4 different couples that repeat the phrase, but each one kind of brings their own way to it, like their own relationship in a way, like the way that they talk and stuff. It's amazing. Like, we watch it 4 separate times, but it's poetic each time it happens, and it's different and it's fresh. It's just really, really well done.
Even a lot of the couples will say like the same kind of like dialogue, and then when Buffy and Angel go, it's like dialogue that pertains to like what Buffy and Angel are like actually going through. And so I love how they kind of kept that from us until that last part, because I just was like, oh, like this is just, I mean, okay, we'll talk about it because I don't want to keep saying stuff that I'm like, I need to save that for later. But
we'll get to it.
I love that they did that.
So the two teens are fighting. Come back here. We're not finished. You don't care anymore. Is that it? I love that they just kind of show the end of the dialogue to make you think one thing and not realize what it actually is. So Buffy walks in, sees the dude pointing a gun at the girl, intercepts the man before the gun goes off. That was like really intense. She like grabs his arm, points it up, digs her elbow into his stomach, then flips him. It was really cool.
I thought when I saw that scene for the first time, I thought she like broke his like forearm, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, are they really going to show that?"
Graphic. She might have. I also think it's kind of cool that it mirrors Giles also doing almost the same thing. Like, he tackles the other shooter, once again trying to show the correlation between Buffy and Giles. You just went OJ on your girlfriend. Haha. Can we tell when this was written? The couple are confused, said they don't know why they were fighting. The gun disappears. Hey, it's the principal's office. We haven't seen Snyder since What's My Line? Like, where have you been, man?
Him and his big ears.
I know.
Every time he comes in, I'm like, oh, comic relief.
Leah's like favorite character this season.
He did. He had a lot of screen time.
I just love him. Like, he's just so pessimistic all the time. Like, this man does not have a ray of sunshine in his life, and it is just so funny to me.
I mean, with how short he is, I would be bad too.
Like, well, with the phone call he has with someone on the phone, he's like, "Oh, pathetic, no life vegan." I was like, who wrote this?
I know. He's just so, like, he's so angry at everyone. Like, even the way he's, like, talking to Buffy, like, she's like, "This isn't my fault. Like, you should be thanking me." And he's like, "Yeah, well, I'm going to keep digging until I find out that it is your fault." Like, this man has no ounce of, like, believing the best. He's always just like, "No, it's your fault."
Well, I mean, part of me questions, like, I don't know, maybe this is probably a spoiler and I shouldn't say, but
if it is, we'll cut it out later. It's all good.
Okay, I was going to say, maybe he knows she's the Slayer, and that's why he's out for her. Because
yeah, no, that's a good point, especially with what we find out in this episode where he talks about they're on a Hellmouth, the mayor and all that stuff. You're like, whoa, is that why he's out to get her? Is it because he knows she's the Slayer? Yeah,
but
right.
if he did know that she was a Slayer, wouldn't you think he'd want to help her, considering he wants the stuff about the Hellmouth to kind of stay quiet?
But is he really on Buffy's side?
Clearly
or is he
not.
on the mayor's side?
Buffy is kind of the monkey wrench in his plans if he's trying to keep everything hush-hush. Because Buffy, she doesn't do a great job of keeping her identity a secret and keeping it to herself. Things are constantly happening around her. And I think at the end of the day, I think Snyder just likes control. And so Buffy is not something he can control. And so he doesn't like that, regardless of whether she's helping him or not,
Snyder's mad that he's not the Slayer.
Yeah, he is. He's like, dang it, why aren't guys Slayers?
He's like, he'd be the type of guy that'd be like, guys are way more powerful than girls. Anyways, it's completely unrealistic that a girl would even be a Slayer. He's like all mad about it.
He thought he was going to be chosen, and then one day he realized it wasn't going to happen.
He got rejected from the Watchers Council.
Oh yeah, that's what it is.
I can't even.
Story.
Oh my gosh.
That's it, Leah. You unpacked all of Snyder right there. We don't even need a backstory for him. I love how he's all like, I'm a truth seeker. I have got a missing gun and 2 confused kids on my hands. He suddenly thinks that he's like an FBI agent. Pieces of the puzzle, and I'm going to look at all the pieces carefully and rationally, and I'm going to keep looking until I know exactly how all this is your fault. Buzzer sounds. Mr. Snyder, Billy Crandall's changed himself to the snack machine again.
Okay, I've seen this episode a zillion times. This is one of those episodes. This is one of my favorites. And I picked up on so many small dialogue stuff in this episode that I have genuinely never picked up for. And there are some hilarious one-liners that so many characters I wouldn't think would give some funny one-liners. I just am so excited to talk about them. Especially that one. That one was so funny.
Amen, girl.
Oh my gosh. You stink of lies. He's so dramatic. It's the best. I love how Buffy doesn't really take him seriously. She's just like, okay, I'll just sit here, I guess. So then Snyder leaves the room to check on Billy Crandall. An old yearbook from 1955 mystically gets pulled out, drops on the floor. Buffy doesn't read it, puts it back. So computer class. There are so many beautiful moments between Willow and Giles this episode. I just really appreciate how sweet their relationship is.
But I also question why a student is subbing for a class.
Okay, way to
I've thought the same thing.
No, because I mean, Willow was clearly doing a good job. I understand why someone like Giles would trust her to lead a class. But why would someone like Principal Snyder
He doesn't want to pay a sub.
Mm-hmm.
It's just more money.
Well,
just
my
fair,
theory
but
is
that's
that all the
definitely
teachers
illegal.
keep dying.
Yes.
True.
Unless it's one period.
Yeah, well,
I
and
don't
also, okay, students, again, easier to control. I think Snyder's all about control. Student is easier to control, less money, don't have to worry about another teacher dying, don't have to worry about another teacher that maybe won't keep their secret, And this doesn't seem to be very long after Jenny's death, so maybe it's just temporary until they get someone in,
Plus all the 5 hours of lesson planning that Willow does.
I mean, she's clearly putting in the work, man.
She is!
Even though Jenny has already has stuff on her computer from this episode. She has all these lesson plans.
That doesn't matter. Willow's still going to put 5 hours in.
Yeah, it's true. She will. Little overachiever over here, trying to, emotionally cope with everything that's going on in her life. Though Giles stops in to see if she needs help, and Willow mentions that Jenny left the detailed lesson plans on her computer, says she found a bunch of files on paganism and magic. And then she gives Giles the rose quartz that has healing powers, says, I thought she'd want you to have it. And I think this is yet another moment where Giles is healing a little bits at a time. He's obviously not there at all, but I think that this is helping him.
And their theme plays.
Yeah, remembering
so
Jenny.
Sweet.
It's beautiful.
It plays every time in this episode that either Giles or Buffy is thinking about Jenny, or something is happening that you're kind of supposed to trick your mind into thinking about Jenny.
Yeah, it's really, I love that theme song. Christoph Beck is just phenomenal when it comes to leitmotifs.
I know.
And Giles is very
Sarah
touched.
was a music major, if you can't tell.
I know. Who would say motifs? Oh, it's really good at motifs.
No, she said lay motifs.
Oh, my bad. I wasn't a music major.
Rude. Don't make fun of me. Giles is very touched. And I also think this is very clever to show that, hey, guess what? The hard drive wasn't destroyed, even though the computer monitor was, but the tower wasn't. So Angel's curse is still there. Like, not only is Angel's curse on that thumb drive, floppy disk.
Floppy disk.
Floppy disk. Thank you. Excuse me. Pardon my 2000s speak. And that floppy disk, but it's also still technically on the hard drive. So now, like, as viewers, we're like, come on, somebody find it. Come on.
I feel like it's just like a slap in the face from the writers. Like, yeah, it's there. We're not going to address it. It's there.
Yeah, and we're literally, they keep shooting scenes right at that desk too, where you're like, maybe they'll find it now. You know, that's what every new viewer is thinking when they're watching this. They're like, this is the episode. I know it.
Like, they're going to just know.
Yeah. So in history class, Buffy's snoozing as per usual. I love how they just keep showing that it's history class. It cracks me up because we know Buffy's not great about that. They're learning about the New Deal. Guy totally looks like a history teacher with a sweater vest. Buffy suddenly has a vision, which I thought this was interesting. This is the first vision that's from the past, and it's not something that's foreshadowing of the future. I thought that was
well,
really
no.
cool.
What about out of sight, out of mind, or out of mind, out of sight?
Buffy's technically not seeing those visions.
Oh,
those are literally
were just okay.
Mhm.
That was us. Okay.
Yeah, that was just us. But excellent memory. Good job. Yeah, so it's clearly the 50s based upon that one girl who's like, oh, he's so dreamy. I was like, okay, barf. That was very cheesily delivered.
Well, and the outfits. Of course, the outfits. Like, we're like only looking at the dial. Like, what year could it be?
Dreamy, 1955.
She was saying that, like, it's clearly the 50s because of the dialogue. I was like, well, it's clearly the 50s because of those outfits.
I was being sarcastic, but yes.
Oh my gosh. Burn me at the stake then. Goodness gracious.
Regardless,
Also,
it's both in your face that it's 50s.
Who calls someone dreamy nowadays, too? That's what would get me. I'm not gonna... If
Maybe
I,
I
like a boy, okay, Leah.
You're dreamy, Leah.
Yeah, what the heck? That's a nice compliment.
Oh my word. Okay, so it is 1955. The teacher asks James if he likes the Hemingway book she gave him. He says, I liked it. It's honest. Okay, so the book is Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway. It's about a World War I soldier who falls in love with an older army nurse, and she eventually dies, and he blames himself for it. And it's kind of based off of Hemingway's own experiences. So... of course they would, everything has meaning in this episode, in this show, really. And so I love like looking into little details like that. Okay, what book did he give her? And I mean, obviously it means something as like they're talking with their eyes and with their body language and stuff. It's very clear that they have a relationship going on. Back in the present day, the prof is writing something about child labor on the board, but what he actually writes is "Don't walk away from me, bitch," which is the exact same thing that the guy screamed at the girl at the very beginning.
I was going to say, I just realized when you said that this is history class, like, wasn't history the class that Angel was tutoring her in?
Yes.
Yep. And Darla.
Yeah.
Air quotes,
Oh my
Darla.
gosh. Yes.
It's the class that Buffy's always talking about how she doesn't understand.
Needs a tutor.
And needs a tutor with. Yes. I'm going to talk a little bit about the actors because not only is, our main cast phenomenal in this episode, but we have several other couples who do a great job and carry their own. So Grace, the teacher, is played by Meredith Salinger. She starred in The Journey of Natty Gann opposite John Cusack, A Night in Life of Jimmy Reardon with River Phoenix and Matthew Perry, of all people. She's been on many TV shows such as Daredevil, 24, and has done voiceover work for My Little Pony and Secret Life of Pets 2, amongst other stuff. She's married to comedian Patton Oswalt, who you guys probably know best as the voice of Remy for Ratatouille. Isn't that cool? And both her and her husband have a podcast. I do not remember what the name is. So if you guys ever want to look it up and find out what, Grace is doing today, you can look that up. James is played by Christopher Gorham, and he's best known for Two Broke Girls, Covert Affairs, Insatiable, and Ugly Betty. And he voiced the Flash in the DC animated movies. So I don't know, a little bit of fun fact trivia. I always kind of like looking up and seeing where the actors are and what they've been doing and stuff. All right, so there's a deleted scene that happens in this episode. I'm not 100% sure where, but I think it's somewhere in these next few scenes. And I really wish it had been kept in because it's pretty great. So Cordelia says, okay, so what's up with Buffy? Xander says, how many times do we have to go over this? Nothing's up with Buffy. We're just good friends. Cordelia, no, I mean, what's up with Buffy? Like, is she okay? Xander, sorry, I'm not used to you addressing subjects not directly related to you. She's fine, I guess. Why? Cordelia, she only blew off Ben Straley, the most eligible hunk in town. He's totally rad and his father owns a department store. I mean, he's the guy I'd be going out with if I wasn't so obviously brain damaged. No offense. Xander, oh no, why would I be offended? Cordelia, anyway, Ben told Lynette, who told Charity.
Anyway.
That
Quality
Buffy-
of mercy is not Cordelia.
Seriously.
Yeah, I know, right? Anyway, Ben told Lynette, who told Charity, that Buffy wouldn't even give him the time of day. Xander, good for her. She's providing much needed life experience for the rejection deprived. Cordelia, the guilt thing's just getting a little old, you know? Everybody's told her what happened to Angel isn't her fault. Xander, yeah, everybody except the one guy she actually needs to hear it from.
Dang, I wish they left that in, like, Xander actually standing up for Buffy.
That's pretty insightful for Xander.
And it's also insightful of Cordelia to notice that something is going on with Buffy. And I think it lends a little bit of insight into both of those characters. And yeah, I mean, I understand they can't keep everything in. My guess is that was probably they were planning on having that squeezed in while Xander and Cordelia are dancing or something like that. But yeah, I thought that was insightful.
I kind of wish, like, the one part that I really wish was in the episode was the last thing you said, only because we end up getting that at the end of the episode. So if they had mentioned it, then it would have made just such a sweet full circle. Even though it wasn't actually Angel, it was very cathartic for Buffy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think my guess is they cut it out because they're like, audiences can kind of see where we're going and understand that Buffy needs to hear that from Angel. We don't need a character actually physically saying it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So in the hallway, gosh, Buffy is just killing it with her looks. She's got that brown tank dress with the slit, belt, the tan boots. I mean, even her hair. And Xander's shirt is actually decent. It doesn't hurt my eyes. Like,
I know.
Both just looking really good.
Blind me.
Something weird is going on. Xander thinks the Hellmouth is just acting up, opens his locker, and an arm yanks him into it until Buffy pulls him out. Okay, so you guys probably don't remember the first time you watched this, but like, I feel like that was probably the biggest jump scare they've had on the show yet, because you like legitimately don't expect that to happen.
I think this whole episode was full of a lot of jump scares.
True.
Everything Zombie James. Like, again, I just feel like traumatized me when I was younger.
Are you okay, Destiny?
I know, it's the third time you mentioned it. Are you okay?
Yeah.
It traumatized me, clearly.
She's like, let's talk about this episode. And it's over there like, oh, okay. Maybe this will get me over my fear of the episode.
Oh my gosh, closure, guys. Closure.
We'll help you find acceptance and peace. Move on. Let go of the ghost of James. Buffy and Xander go into the library. Xander's shirt is like shredded on one side. Willow's like, oh, did Cordelia win another round in the broom closet? Oh,
Love
great. That. Xander, I'll have you know, I was accosted by some sort of locker monster. Giles immediately, Loch Ness monster?
Loch Ness monster?
He's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. The Hellmouth has everything. They explain what's going on. Giles, ooh, sounds like a paranormal phenomena. Willow's like, that's pretty cool. There's a ghost. Like, Giles and Willow geeking out. And Xander's like, no, this was no wimpy chain rattler. This was, I'm dead as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. Giles says the ghost doesn't know what it wants, that many times the spirit is plagued by all manner of worldly troubles. Being dead, it has no way to make its peace, so it lashes out, growing ever more confused, ever more angry. The only way to stop it is to help it work out whatever unresolved issues that keep it there and help them resolve it. Giles says they need to find out who the spirit was. So then it's night again at the school. We see the janitor, George, mopping again, and teacher, Miss Frank, finishes up and starts to leave. And it's very clever how, like, they showed the janitor during the first fight to show that, like, clearly it's a possession. It's not him. Like him and the Miss Frank don't know each other. They're completely strangers. They're possessed again. They go through the same dialogue as before, except this time we actually hear the beginning. You can't make me disappear when you say it's over. There's no way we can be together. No way people will ever understand except it. And it goes on. We'll read the full thing at the end. So as they argue, Giles is sitting in his office and he hears their voices yelling at each other. And as he's taking his dear sweet time walking towards the noise, he hears a woman whisper, "I need you." Now, okay, question for you guys. The metaphor breaks down. The episode's not super clear whether Grace is like her spirit is still around the school, because they talk about how they like James is obviously there. Do you guys think that Grace's spirit is still stuck in the school, or do you think that that's James speaking in a woman's voice trying to get Giles's attention?
I think it's both, because one, like you hear a woman's voice, which could be, James trying to get Giles' attention, but I think that, I think it makes more sense if it was a girl. But also, at the end of the episode, when Buffy and Angel are, like, kissing and you see, like, the spirit, all that, I could swear I see two spirits go up, not one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because then who's possessing the other half during these conversations, I personally think it would be Grace. And she might just be thinking, like, hey, Giles might understand my perspective, so maybe I can possess him. I don't really think Jenny is
Jenny's not there.
All, really, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think his grief is really allowing himself to think it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I mean, they aren't very clear, and they kind of like don't talk about whether there's two spirits. Even they just say James, but it's like clearly two people are being possessed, unless it's James just like reenacting out what happened using two people, which I don't. Yeah, it's kind of fuzzy. Like, how is James also able to bring in all the wasps? How he's able, there's like, it's kind of fuzzy, but at the same time, like, that's not the point of the episode. So yeah, I agree with you guys. I think that I think that Grace is still there. And I think Grace probably, maybe resonates with Giles too, and that's why she's talking to him. I don't know. The janitor is played by John Hawkes. He's best known for Winter's Bone and The Sessions, was nominated for an Academy Award and a Golden Globe, has been in a lot of TV shows, been in X-Files, 24, Monk, Psych, Lost, and just a ton more. The teacher is played by Miriam Flynn, and she played Littlefoot's grandmother in the Land Before Time franchise. Yeah, not the original movie. She replaced the original actress. She also played Ma, the ewe, in Babe. Isn't that cool? It's like all of our 90s movies. Yeah. So he walks into the hallway looking for the voice, sees the janitor shoot the teacher, causing her to fall back over the banister. In horror, Frank runs back inside from the balcony. Giles tackles him, again mirroring Buffy. We see the gun slide to the floor and disappear, which that effect is so cool, how the gun just slides and disappears. So Frank does not remember what happened, and Giles is like, you just killed a woman. And then, so then we have the mansion. I'm really excited about this. Okay, so the outside of this mansion is a really famous building in Los Angeles. It's called the Ennis House. It's by architect Frank Lloyd Wright and has been used in many films, commercials, music videos, photo shoots, and TV shows, including Blade Runner, Rush Hour, Predator 2, and Star Trek Next Generation. And the architectural, the structure, it's built to look like an Aztec temple. Carrie Meyer, the production designer, he was the production designer at the beginning of the second season and worked as the first season art director. He is in charge of heading the art department, designing all the sets, and overseeing their construction and decoration. So, fun fact, the title of art director actually came from the movie Gone with the Wind, because it had such a huge impact on set work and became such an involved and the set work person became such an involved person in the production that the producers felt they needed to give the person a more meaningful credit. And so that title was born, which I thought was kind of cool. So Carrie, when he begins designing for new episodes, he talks about how he gets the script from Joss and the writers. He takes careful note of the lists of new sets and locations that he and his team have to make real. He said his office is filled with sketches, blueprints, drafting table, color wheels, and assorted design paraphernalia, as well as sketches of various sets he's working on. He has a degree in architecture, but got experience working on set as a grip and a production assistant on a few productions. When he was brought on as the production designer, he pitched his idea for the factory as Drew, Spike, and Angelus's lair. He wanted to prove to Joss that he could design the show, so the factory set was very important to him. He was inspired by an English library from the Craftsman period. He says that his look for vampires is very much industrial and gritty. He enjoys like retaining that kind of flavor, yet layering it with more. He says there's this bizarre kind of amalgamation of different styles and things. As long as it has a feel that is cool, it's not something that you set out with rule books. It just kind of evolves as time goes on. For instance, they designed a sort of underground motif for the vampires, starting with the underground church for the master, and then connected that to the rest of the world by sewer pipes. And then over time, it became established, oh, hey, there's an extensive sewer system beneath the town, and we can kind of work that into the like this vampires have like this underworld system that it kind of became this like industrial low ground cement, dirt, rust, grime look that we kind of attribute to vampires. But it's cool because him pitching that idea affected the show, because then they started going, oh, hey, we can start doing sewers and tunnels and it kind of affected the look of the show. And so from then they realized that they can use sewer systems as like a transporter, like kind of using Star Trek talk, but it allows them to move from one place to another, from one set to another, without having to do big night shoots, because you don't know whether it's night or day when you're underground in a sewer. And it also allows them to like be more ambiguous on how long it takes people to get places. So if it takes it shorter than what you would normally think, you could be like, well, it's a shortcut because it's a tunnel. You know what I mean? So it kind of really changed the show, all because he had this idea for sewers, which I think is really cool. So in a way, he kind of had a hand in writing some of the show, whether he meant to or not.
So then I have a question. Does that mean that they were sleeping in the sewers during the garden?
Yeah, I mean, possibly, because where else are they gonna go?
Exactly.
That's hilarious. You imagine the three of them in the sewer, like the two brothers from Bad Eggs.
Yes, because then like you think like when Spike mentions it earlier, he's like, oh yes, this is perfect for the glass and everything for the sunlight to kill us.
He's like, I want to go back to my sewer. It was so cushy. Carrie says shooting on location typically lasts 14 to 15 hours, but on a soundstage, it's 12 to 13, which I was like, that's still not great. I don't know. But I guess every hour like adds up. He says, when we're here on the lot, we don't have to do a whole night out. We can have a slightly later call and do the work inside on the stage and move out to our little graveyard and do half a night and then do the same thing the next night. So it's enabled us to keep all the night work in the show, but also not have to go out for a whole night. If you go out, you're going to go out at 6 p.m. sundown and be out until morning. And I wrote, his job sounds massively important, not just because of, they need sets and stuff, but because if he does his job well and he does it right, the actors get more sleep and they're able to have more time to themselves. And so it sounds like he was trying to find ways to make things more efficient. And they also save money too, And he says because of how much easier and more efficient this was, producers were more keen on creating sets. So he was able to build more sets for that year than most other shows, which I thought was really interesting. He says, on every other show I've done, we've built 1 or 2 permanent sets and then built like 1.5, maybe 2 sets per episode. With 22 episodes, you figure you can have maybe 25 or 30 sets. But on Buffy, he does 3 sets an episode. So on top of 8 permanent sets they have on stage, they've built between 60 and 80 sets just for season 2.
That's insane.
That is so many sets.
That's dedication.
Yeah. That's like all you're doing is just building sets. That's crazy. And the set designer, Caroline Quinn, she drew every single one of them, which is just crazy. Like it really is a team effort.
And then apparently Joss, like, the jerk that he is, was driving out of the lot one day and passed by Carrie building sets and stopped his car and was like, by the way, we're working on burning the factory set down. And Carrie said, I loved...
What a slap in the face!
I know. Right. But I think, Carrie says, I loved that set and hated to see it go. But Joss, I think Joss likes chaos.
I mean, she's not wrong.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no. He conceived a floor plan that would mesh with the space of the factory before he even thought about what the mansion would be like. So he was like, okay, I have this set and I have to be able to fit it into these parameters. So then he went and he found a very Gothic mansion, arches and fireplaces and things like that. And he said what really attracted him was the coloring of the photograph. It was a photo shoot. So there was a very pretty lady in a large dress standing in the middle of this decrepit place, which had been in an earthquake or something. He said the vampires have a different look from Sunnydale that's underground. And he's like, it was very industrial and dirty, and Joss hated it because it was very Gothic. He wanted to stay away from Gothic. He said maybe it could be Art Deco or something. And so he decided to go with a more cement look, which if you look at the set, it's got a lot of cement and stuff. So that was kind of the background on the mansion, which I thought was pretty cool. All right, so inside the mansion, Angel is giving Drew the tour, taking her outside to the garden, which it's been pretty established that Drusilla really likes digging and burying things and gardens and flowers and such. Spike, yeah, it's a paradise, big windows, lovely gardens. Spike is very salty in this scene.
I thought that this scene was interesting because, one, we've seen how much Angel and, Spike really bite at it. But I really wanted to point out, the chemistry between the actors of Spike and Angel. Yes, we've talked about how Spike and Drusilla work to get good together and how Drusilla and, Angel have good chemistry, but, I really forget, I forget that the actors don't hate each other. Because when I watch them in scenes like this, I'm like, they hate each other. I really, really, really believe it, and it just is I don't know, they are just the three of them together are so good at what they do. Every time they're all on screen, I believe everything they're saying.
It seems like this where I wish Darla was alive.
Yeah.
So you could see all four of them in action. Like we don't get to see today how Darla, Drew, Spike and Angel in their true forms. I don't know. That would be a lovely treat.
Yeah.
Or how Angel would react around Drew if Darla was around.
Yes.
Who knows? I have no idea what that would have looked like.
Or maybe he would be distracted by Darla because he would have Darla and then Drew would have Spike,
Right.
And then they'd be chaotic four.
Yeah. No, it would totally change the dynamic. That, I know. That is a bummer, especially because I think that the characters are so vastly different from who they were, 100 or so years. So it'd be a very different dynamic. Angel or Angelus, if you don't like it, Spike, hit the stairs and go, take a stand, man, which is a double meaning because Spike literally can't stand, but Angel's also telling him he has no backbone, which is ironic because what does Spike do at the end of the episode? He takes a stand, kicks his wheelchair and is like, all right, that's it. You want me to take a stand? I'll take a stand.
No. I'm going to kick this wheelchair while I do it.
Could you imagine he breaks the wheelchair and he's like, dang it, now I have to go get a new one so they don't know.
Or he sprains his ankle or something because it turned the wrong way. I don't know.
Actually use it again. Yeah.
I know. Very logical.
Or they haven't even walked fully up the stairs yet. He's like, you'll see. Kicks it. They walk downstairs what is going on? He's like,
Spike fell over in his wheelchair.
Waited.
He's like, I fell. Sorry.
That'd be good.
Oh my gosh. They're like, Spike's just throwing a tantrum.
He'd be like, Spike, you idiots. How could you fall in a wheelchair?
Spike, well, our place was just fine till you went and had it burned down. Angelus continues to insult Spike, and Spike's face is fully healed at this point, and he just is looking done with everything. He's been getting increasingly, I think, angrier and angrier each episode, but this one he's seething. I noticed that the quieter Spike gets, the more angry he is. So in the library, Giles tells Buffy and Willow about what happened with the janitor, said it was the same thing that happened with the two teens earlier on, that they couldn't find the gun. Giles is convinced that Jenny is the ghost. She died here under tragic circumstances and now she's trapped. Willow brings up that Angel didn't shoot Jenny, but Giles insists that that's not significant, that it's the violence of the thing that matters, which this is not normally Giles. Giles is normally very methodical, as they point out later on. And it's interesting, too, that throughout this scene, Giles is keeping himself busy while he's talking. His emotions are clearly heightened. He's not thinking clearly. And then Buffy and Willow are very clear. They're like, we don't agree. Like, these fights are very specific. Like, it's the same thing happening over and over. There's two people each time. Willow's like, there's a pattern that doesn't fit with the way Jenny died. I really like how Willow's thinking. But it's also interesting, like the shot shows the three of them all standing together versus Giles, who's back. You can see him in his office behind the window. And I think it's supposed to kind of symbolize that he's isolating himself, that it's like the three of them versus him, and that he's like, no, I'm right. And then he just goes and shuts himself away. Like he doesn't want to hear the truth. And I thought that was a really cool visual.
And as sad as this scene is, I have to say it's so funny when he's like, I really, this is how like every teacher sounds like when you're a kid in high school. They're like, oh, well, like, I really want you to explore and, like, really think for yourself, but I'm right and you're wrong. Like, and I know Giles isn't usually like this, but it's so funny.
Well, and then no one wants to say anything to him just because he's mourning.
They're like, sure.
We'll prove you wrong.
Well, that and it's like, you're also thinking, he's too far gone. There's no sense of reasoning at this point.
Yeah, we'll let him figure it out on his own. I just think it's sad. Like, Giles he's not ready to let go of Jenny yet. And the idea of an angry Jenny ghost is better than never hearing from her ever again. It's so sad. So in the computer lab, Willow and Xander don't understand why Giles is acting the way he is. Buffy does. Buffy and Giles really understand each other well in this episode. He misses her. He can't think. Just a little more fallout from my love life. Willow checks for other shootings at the school, finds that a student killed a teacher on the night of the Sadie Hawkins dance. The rumor was they had an affair and she tried to break it off. After he killed her, he went into the music room and shot himself. Buffy connects the dots, realizes it's the same couple she dreamt about. So they pull up the yearbook, figure out it's Grace Newman and James Stanley. Buffy, he couldn't make her love him, so he killed her. Sicko. Willow mentions that he was smart. Both Xander and Buffy don't agree. He killed a person and killed himself. Pretty much two of the dumbest things you could do. Willow, I know, but don't you feel kind of bad for them? And Xander's comment, the quality of mercy is not Buffy, is actually paraphrased from a quote from the Shakespeare play The Merchant of Venice. Do you guys remember which episode they learned about The Merchant of Venice?
Oh,
season 1?
It is.
Shoot, I
it
should
is in
know
season 1.
Puppet show?
Oh, puppet show.
Nope,
Puppet show.
nope,
Puppet
nope.
show.
No?
What?
It's
Don't
not-
they do that little like?
They do the scene!
Yeah.
They do the scene of Merchant of Venice, but they don't talk, like it's not the episode that the teacher talks about and they dissect it.
Out of mind, out of sight.
Out of mind, out of sight.
I was gonna guess.
Do I get brownie points?
Yeah, you get a gold star. Here you go. You can have Xander's gold star.
You mentioned it. You mentioned the episode twice.
Yeah, you have.
Good
Well,
for
no,
you.
and it's interesting because as I was watching this episode, it gives me out of mind, out of sight vibes. The loneliness, Buffy walking down the corridor, hearing the music playing, like the very dreamlike state that she's in, the kind of like melancholy, sad. It feels very ghost-like, especially because Marcy like was invisible, so she felt like a ghost too. It's got a lot of out of mind, out of sight vibes. It's very interesting. The actual quote is, the quality of mercy is not strained. But, of course, Xander wouldn't say that. Buffy, sure, I feel lousy for her. He's a murderer and should pay for it. What do you guys think of Buffy in this scene?
I think that Buffy, it's obvious so many times when she's talking about James, she's thinking about Angel.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that she's really, really, really trying hard to continue in her anger and be like, Angelus is awful, he killed someone, blah, 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 and kind of like get rid of any type of love that she had for Angel. And I think that she's really just trying to be like, he's a murderer, he's awful, he deserves everything that's awful. And I think she's also preparing herself for the fact that she might have to kill him. And so she's really trying to, like, show herself, okay, like, murderers are bad, you know, blah, 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 and just trying to be hard about it.
She's trying to make it black and white, whereas before she really hasn't been able to make it black and white with her relationship with Angel or Giles.
That's a really good point. Yeah, I think this is very uncharacteristic of Buffy. I think Buffy is normally a lot more empathetic, and she kind of like really feels for each of the victims in the situation. And in this one, she's kind of shutting herself down for the reasons that you guys both said.
She's also over-identifying much.
Cordelia. Yes.
Actually, I just forgot to point this out earlier. I think it's in this scene where Buffy's outfit's a little bit changed, where she's wearing the black jacket and her hair is slicked back. I don't know if her hair was always slicked back, but it's kind of, I don't know if you guys notice it, but she looks a little bit more like Angel in some ways.
Ooh.
Like, it feels like that kind of could be another like foreshadow that that's where her role is. It's going to be like
the male.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is a really good insight. Yeah, totally. I wrote like Buffy can't forgive Angel for what he's done, and she's also disgusted by James, but she's also feeling the same emotions he is: the rage, the despair, the sadness, the loneliness. But I think on top of that, like obviously like she's feeling guilty, I think she's also, there's a part of her that's probably a little bit angry at Angel / Angelus. She's not just feeling guilt, she's feeling rejection, because she woke up with him gone. And so there's a part of her that feels like, even though she knows this was an Angel's fault, she still feels like he left her. And so there's a part of her that is wrestling with being angry at him, even though she knows it's not rational.
Well, even if you look at like in earlier episodes when Jenny was alive and like her anger towards Jenny, she's like, did you know this was going to happen? Like, I think she might be resonating that same anger to Angel in the sense like, did you know this was going to happen? If so, why'd you let it happen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And sometimes our emotions aren't always rational. Sometimes we just feel these things because like they're there. We can't help it. And I think that this episode's so layered. There's so many different emotions that she's feeling, and we resonate with all of them because at some point in our life we felt at least one of those emotions, you know?
Totally. Yeah.
So Willow asks which ghost they're dealing with. Buffy thinks it's James because it's so violent. Willow wants to use Jenny's pagan website and find out what he wants. Buffy, who cares what he wants? We need to shut him down before another innocent guy kills a nice girl and then blows his brains out in the music room wall. Again, and I mean, remember guys, when we were talking about phases, we were trying to talk about like what the point of Cain was. And I think the point of Cain was he was supposed to plant the thought that because you didn't stop Angelus, every death that happens afterwards is your fault. And I think that he kind of planted the seeds of guilt in her head that were kind of already starting to like maybe fester from innocence. And I think that Buffy kind of took that to heart. And so that's why she's really wrestling with understanding James. So in the cafeteria, the gang is having spaghetti. Ugh. A girl screams. Suddenly everyone realizes the noodles have turned into the snakes. It's chaos as students scream and run everywhere. Cordy gets bit on the face by a snake. Snyder strolls in with a coffee only to have students like flipping over tables in front of him. Outside the school, animal control is taking the snakes out. A man with a badge and a suit is helped out of his car by Snyder, and they discuss how to cover it up. For the first time, we hear Snyder admit that he knows they are on a hellmouth. Sooner or later, people are going to figure that out. What the heck, guys? That is such a big reveal, shoehorned into this like massively emotional scene. Like it's alluding that there's something going on with the mayor. It's Snyder knows. Like there's been no inclination so far that Snyder knows anything except for in School Hard when he was talking about PCP.
But also, like, if someone's gonna be the principal of Sunnydale High School on top of a hellmouth, how would you be able to turn a blind eye with all the weird things that happen if you didn't know it happened and or wasn't in cahoots with
I think
something?
it almost makes me respect Snyder a little bit because it's like, okay, you're not an idiot. Like, you know what's going on, unlike 90% of the people in Sunnydale. Like,
but if he's in cahoots with what, like, if he's trying to cover it up and he doesn't want to like take care of the issue, I don't know. I don't want to really.
He's a little snaky.
He's a little
more snaky than the cafeteria snakes, in my opinion.
Well, yeah,
with his big ears.
You're like, okay, so Snyder goes from a possibly just like a ditzy, stupid control freak to, oh my gosh, somebody who actually has an evil agenda. Like it kind of changes the way that you view him, which I think is really, really clever. But it's also still consistent with what he's done up until now.
Makes you wonder if Principal Flutie knew we were on a Hell Mel. You know?
Poor Principal Flutie.
I don't think Principal Flutie knew a thing about what was going on. That poor man was on cloud 9. Like, he was like, I love everyone.
Well,
everything's okay.
Really? I feel like he was way too stressed about everything. I forget which episode it was. Something happened. He'd be like, what? There's this happening? And he was just like, he cared way too much about the small, minute things about high school.
Well, that's what got him eaten.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. He said they were being stupid high school boys, whereas Snyder would be like, there's something fishy going on. Whereas Buffy? Like, he just would assume.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, if Snyder knows that she's the Slayer, it makes sense why he's always, like, assuming that it's Buffy.
Right.
Yep. Also, the fact that Snyder actually looks nervous when the guy suggested he goes and talks to the mayor is a first. I don't feel like we've actually seen Snyder scared of anything.
This is also like one of the first mentions we've ever heard of the mayor in this town. Like, does that fool just like sleep on the job all the time?
Never seen the mayor. But to be fair, have you seen the mayor in your town, Leah?
No, but there's also not vampires killing half of the population of my town.
True, okay,
so
okay.
I don't
Fair.
expect to see him every Tuesday.
Are you sure, or are you just repressing? Like
That's
everybody
true.
else in Sunnydale?
I could be. I'm very rarely out
Yeah.
at night anyways, so.
Yeah, Destiny's actually, a vampire slayer, so that's why you don't ever see any vampires. That's what's going on.
We don't live in the same town, so
Oh my gosh.
it's not killing the ones in my town.
She does have the stake tattoo.
Yeah.
That is a gift. A huge tell.
Okay, Buffy's house. Willow, remember the plan to contact the spirit and talk to it. Scrap that plan. Buffy, you were right. The time for touchy-feeling communication is past. I've done some homework and found out the only solution is the final solution. Willow wants to do an exorcism, says the balcony is where the teacher died, and that's the hot spot. And it's interesting that once again, Willow's taking over from Giles when he's not quite himself, just like she did in the Dark Age. So the plan is that one person chants in the hot spot while the other 3 chant in other places around the school, forming a triangle to bind the bad spirit. Buffy, of course, decides to take the hot spot. I'm hoping he'll show. I truly am. Who are you hoping's going to show, Buffy?
My thinking is like, what can she do? Like, he's a ghost or a poltergeist. Like, she can't really fight him. So what are you expecting is going to happen from this?
Yeah, I think if they're binding the spirit, I feel like in every other show, it's always been, if we bind it, then it has corporeal form. You know what I mean?
I also think that a little bit like Giles, she's very clouded right now. And she's just kind of thinking like, oh, I can fight this. I can take this. I can beat this. I just want to fight this guy. She just wants to take everything out on Angel right now.
That's true.
And so it's like, no matter what she can do, I'm just going to fight.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They arrive at school, and as soon as they enter, all the doors slam shut. I just love this part of the episode. It's creepy in like a fun way. It's just really fun to watch. In the mansion, Drusilla is digging in the garden, says maybe she will dig herself a burrow and sleep in the ground. Spike reminds her of her dress. Very sweet, very boyfriend-like. And then Drew's like, well, I'll just sleep naked like the animals. And Angelus gets all creepy. Then Drew has a vision, which is really cool. We've talked about the correlations between Drusilla and Buffy. I think every time Drusilla has a vision, it's like Buffy has a vision. And in this episode, Drew's like, there's a gate. It's opening. It's black. It wants her. It's time, Angel. She's ready for you now. She's dancing with death. And I think it's cool that the black gate is not James, which we're led to believe it is James, but it's Buffy's guilt and self-loathing and anger. Spike, big deal. He won't do anything. Our man Angel here likes to talk, but he's not much for action. All hat and no cattle, which again, this is now Spike challenging Angel, and that's what Angel did earlier when he challenged Spike. And then Angel grabs Drew to himself, stares at Spike, and touching her while saying, I don't know about that. I think this whole Slayer thing has run its course. I'm ready to focus my energy elsewhere. And like, Drew is definitely loving the attention, but I also kind of feel bad for her because once again, she's a victim in all of this. She knows the guys are kind of like using her, but they're also using her. Like, I don't think that, well, I know Angelus doesn't truly care for her. He's only using her body to get at Spike, whereas Spike, who truly does care for her, is having to watch his girlfriend being taken by this guy. It's really dark.
I don't know. I feel like Drew's just whoring herself out here.
You think so?
I think she's just being a hoe. Yeah. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know. I just feel like, because, like, as he's talking to her, she's like, like, she's just milking it. And I'm like, yo, you're right in front of your actual love, who you sired, and he's watching it, and you know that's not fun for him to watch. Like,
but she also has no soul, so I feel like
I know.
It kind of makes sense. But still, I totally agree.
I know. Like, so I don't know. I don't feel like Drew's really much of a victim. Like, I do see, like, she is being used in
but she's enjoying it.
Yeah, she is. Like, because if she, like, I think kind of what you've said in previous episodes, like, she's really in control. And I think, like, if she wanted to, she could stop it. And so she's choosing not to.
That's a good take. Yeah. No, I agree with that, actually. Yeah, for sure.
I think that Drew also really likes being fought over.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Totally. Yeah. Again, just liking the attention.
Totally. The camera zooms in on Spike really as he slowly looks up. And I feel like this is that moment. This is that moment where he's like, that's it. I've got to do something. Like, I need to step it up. It's interesting too at the beginning of the episode, like, who Spike is now versus who he was in school. Heart is so drastically different. He was just bold and brash and loud and like taking risks and taking chances. And now he's just very quiet and defeated. He's simmering and he's going to boil over at some point.
I feel like he still is that guy. It's just that he knows Angelus. And he knows that most of the time that kind of Spike at the beginning of this season works. But I think he knows Angelus, and he knows that if he's going to beat Angelus, he has to beat him at his own game.
Well, and who's been his main motivator this entire season? Drusilla. And he's watching Drusilla being taken from him and allowing herself to be taken from him. And he's over there going, what else do I have to live? Like, he's very defeated. He has nothing else to live for, you know? Angelus, what with you being special needs boy, I figure I should stick close to home. You and Drew can always use another pair of hands. The hurt and anger on Spike's face, like, James Marsters is phenomenal. So at the school, Willow runs into Giles, who's still inside the library, although neither one of them is supposed to be there. Giles is trying to contact Jenny, compliments Willow on her use of sulfur, but is so distracted, he doesn't even say, it's unsafe, like, you shouldn't be here, like, go home. He's just like, okay, bye, like, see you later. Cordy goes to the women's bathroom, checks out her bite in the mirror while Buffy hears the music in the hallway, very reminiscent of Out of Mind, Out of Sight. Sees an old poster announcing the Sadie Hawkins dance on the music room door, which Marcy's lair was up in the music room too. Like, there's just a lot of similarities. It's very odd. James and Grace are inside dancing. Meanwhile, Xander's in the cafeteria that is still very much snake infested. Willow gets to her position on top of the staircase. Buffy's still watching James and Grace, and you can just...
I think this moment is so interesting because you see Buffy go from her harsh stance to more of like these are human beings who are in love. Dark and twisted as it may be, they loved each other, and they didn't deserve to go out the way that they did.
You can almost tell that she's feeling what they're feeling. She's like, oh, they're in love. Like, because you can kind of see a smile almost on her. She's just like, oh, like watching their love.
Yeah, her face visibly softens as she watches them, and you could tell she's feeling what they're feeling, and she's remembering back too. Suddenly, James's face looks all decomposed and signaling the poltergeist is unhappy. Half Cordy's face suddenly is covered in horrible burns. Willow's pulled into the floor by the same hand that pulled Xander into the locker. The floor turns into a liquid. She screams for Giles. Thankfully, he hears her, pulls her out in time. Giles lighting the candle when Willow's hands are shaking too badly for her to do it herself is seriously beautiful. Really good imagery there. And I mean, like, Giles can probably guess what they're trying to do, but he still doesn't know, but he just like helps her anyway. It's really great. On the balcony, Buffy puts on her necklace of sulfur, then suddenly gets a flash of the past and sees the scene where James chases Grace to the balcony and how he shoots her, then goes to the music room and shoots himself. She's snapped back to the present by decomposed James grabbing her and yelling, "Get out." Destiny's having flashbacks.
Seriously, that stuff is scary.
I also just like thought about like how traumatizing it must have been for Buffy to have to like see their love story kind of unfold, but then like also him shoot her and then him go and like, you know, shoot himself. Like that's just on top of everything that she's had to go through. I can't imagine seeing that.
Well, probably also feeling it too.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that actually, like, it's played off by the end, like, because she was in their shoes, she understood. She was able to get to that place, but they don't talk about the fact that, like, she actually was in their shoes and had to feel all of that. But I think the idea is that she already is kind of feeling all those feelings.
And then being slapped back by zombie James.
Yeah, I know.
Get
She's
out.
gonna be in therapy.
Yeah.
The scene with Cordy and Willow being attacked are tributes to the horror movie Poltergeist, specifically when Mary peels his face off and Diane was drowning in a river of skeletons, in case any of you have seen Poltergeist, which now I officially never want to see because that sounds scary.
Oh my god, wait,
I
actually
haven't seen Poltergeist?
Poltergeist is
No.
like, it's one of those movies
It's
that was
classic.
terrifying for its time, but then you watch it now and you're like, it's not that scary. But
Okay.
did you-
Oh, totally.
Well, did you know that, I just learned this recently and I was like, I need other people to hear about this because that's horrible. But there's a scene where, I think the mom gets pulled under
She's swimming.
in the sea of all of those like skeletons. Well, they didn't tell the actress that they were real skeletons. Bones. They didn't tell her until afterwards, and she was traumatized afterwards.
Yeah, and supposedly it's one of those sets that were like haunted.
Yep.
Because
was
the
like, really
little
haunted.
girl who's like, they're
Screwed up.
here. She passed away, I think, within that year from it was really sad and
Yeah.
awful. It's like
It's one of those sets.
But
like,
it's a good movie.
Same thing with The Shining, where just a lot of stuff happened to the cast, but it made good
Stanley
performances.
Kubrick was awful
Yeah.
in so many
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah. Everyone is okay and recovering. Willow tells Giles that it can't be Jenny, that she would never be this mean, causing him to admit that he knows that it's not her. He just wanted it to be her because he misses her. The bell chimes midnight. The gang chants, I shall confront and expel all evil out of marrow and bone, out of house and home, never to come here again. And then, the stillness, along with Christoph Beck's like strings that play, so good. It sounds like, you know, that feeling you get when you have like, not that we've all felt this, but you know, like that feel you get when you hear like the strings running up and it's like supposed to sound like insects like skittering up the walls or something like that. They play that right here.
The Indiana Jones ride on Disneyland.
That's exactly what I thought.
That's what I always think of. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Swarm of insects comes out of nowhere, chasing them all out of the school, and it covers it. And you can tell that shot cost a lot for them budget-wise because they use this shot of them standing in front of the school, I think like 2 or 3 times. And sometimes in the wrong context, it's pretty funny. So in the Summers house, the gang is all sitting down discussing what to do except for Buffy, who is standing near the glass doors. And this is shot really well because they kind of move around so you can see everybody in one continuous shot. But then as they circle around, you see Buffy in the background. And as the camera goes to land on Giles, Buffy is technically still in the center of the shot. She's just in the background, showcasing that as Giles is talking, he's really as he's talking about James, he's really talking about Buffy. It's really pretty. Giles explains that James is reliving the night of the dance when he killed Grace, that is common for a spirit to recreate a tragedy, to dwell on it. Giles says that he is trying to resolve the issues that are keeping him in limbo. Buffy jumps in and says James wants forgiveness. And you can see her like physically wrestling with this.
She knows. Well, she's also been staying there for a long time, like really just like in her feels. You could tell that she's been really like, it's been taking a toll on her.
Oh yeah, totally. I'd like to chime in. Like, this is where one of my favorite quotes comes when she's explaining like he doesn't deserve it. Yeah. And then it just goes where Giles is like, to forgive is an act of compassion. It's not done because they deserve it. It's done because they need it. And I think that like that just goes for everything. Like, you know, it is compassionate because it's unconditional. Like just because, I don't know, I think like not to get too religious in this, but it goes like with how, you know, Christians are saved by God's forgiveness. We're not doing anything on our end. And that can show like how we can go to be better people and how like God has called us to be forgiving of others because we're forgiven.
Yeah, absolutely. My father-in-law said something a couple years ago that's just resonated with me. He says that the best feeling in the world is forgiveness, because it means relief. And I was like, I think it's the best feeling in the world because it's hope. I think forgiveness is hope. And that's what you're giving to someone when you forgive them. But more than that too, like you're also allowing yourself not to become bitter and to fester in this. Like forgiveness is really the best thing for all parties, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's also,
absolutely.
I like how, I mean, I agree with everything you guys just said, but I like how afterwards, Buffy mentions how he got in an act of passion.
She says
and
James
killed him.
destroyed the one person he loved in a moment of blind passion.
Yep. And I just, one, obviously a call back to the episode Passion.
Yeah.
But two, it's like this whole time we're seeing Buffy kind of like show her own feelings. And so it's like you're hearing how much she blames herself and how much she's like, oh, I got in an act of passion and killed the person I loved. You know, because she really does feel like she killed Angel.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, this scene is just very reminiscent from the car scene in Innocence when Giles basically tells Buffy, like, you know, you're not to blame. I don't blame you. This is taking it a step further. Giles is going, I don't blame you. Back there, don't blame yourself here. You know, you need to like move forward with this. And I also love that Giles talks about how James, you know, he wants forgiveness. He's possessing someone. The same thing happens over and over again, dooming himself to kill Grace over and over again in some sort of purgatory state. Forgiveness is impossible. And I think in a lot of ways too, this is echoes of Angel as well. Angel is stuck as Angelus. And I think, I'm assuming here, but I wouldn't be surprised if Angel's experiencing what's happening at the same time as Angelus is, simply because we know that Angelus is aware of what's happened while Angel was in control. And so in a lot of ways, like Angel himself is stuck in kind of a purgatory as well, as they're both connected. He's having to live through this nightmare as well. And every time, you know, the last time when Angel came back, or when Angel got his soul, that's how he lived every day, having to live with this purgatory state and this lack of forgiveness. So I don't know. It's just, it's a beautiful moment, and it echoes so many of the characters very well and where they're at.
Well, I think it also goes into the sense of like, you know, not to be like black and white, but it's like you could either forgive or be forgiven and let this go and not hold that, or you can be in your sense of purgatory, you know, and just wallow and fester into this, because that's what it's going to do, is just fester further more and just infect you.
Yeah. Buffy says, no matter if he knows now it was wrong and selfish and stupid, it is just something he's going to have to live with. And Xander, being insightful for like the first time, he can't live with it, Buff. He's dead. Whoa, double meaning, man.
Yes, finally giving some like really good lines to Xander.
Yeah. And then Buffy storms off. Cordelia, okay, over-identify much. It's just funny to see how insightful these characters are, whether they realize it or not. Buffy finds the Sadie Hawkins poster, hears a male voice, I need you, walks out the door like she's possessed. The gang tries to figure out what to do next. Giles thinks the spirit is too powerful and angry to try again right now.
I have a question. I was going to say, do you guys think that Buffy was possessed going to the school? Or do you think that she heard James calling out to her and she wanted to answer and help him?
I think it's the latter.
You think what?
Because I don't think she was actually possessed on the way to the school. Because everyone else we saw, even Giles, when he heard the voice, he wasn't.
He just
you don't get,
hear it.
Exactly. You don't get possessed until you're in the hallway.
Okay, so Leah, you're going into my next question then. Because I was going to ask you, so when it gets to the point where they're there and the first thing you hear Buffy say when she's in the school is, you're the only person I can talk to. Do you think that's Buffy, or do you think that's James?
That's totally Buffy.
I wrote that too. Oh my gosh.
Sarah
I
on the
wrote that
same.
too. Yeah, I had the same question. I said, I feel like, I saw it as Buffy was possessed from the moment that she was in the kitchen. I feel like the way that she's kind of walking in that state, that dreamlike state, she's dazed. There's a very clear like look on her face, and then she kind of just walks out the door. And
But that could be her numbness again to all of it.
Yeah, I agree.
It could just be Buffy feeling what she's feeling and just numb to it all.
But even when she says, you're the only person I can talk to, like that feels like something, it felt like Buffy saying it. It didn't
Or
feel
her realization.
Like James. Yeah.
Or her realization, she's like, of course it's you and me.
Exactly. Well, she knew it was Angel. She didn't even turn around. She was like, you're the only person I could talk to. And then he's like, gosh, Buff, that's really pathetic.
Just being a jerk.
Yeah, well, and I think I kind of felt like it doesn't really matter in that moment because at this point, James and Buffy are feeling the exact same thing. So whether or not she's possessed or not, she's now just exemplifying how she's been feeling this entire time. So when she says, you're the only one I can talk to, she's talking about Angel, but she's also talking about James too, because she recognizes that James understands her, but she's also talking as James talking about Buffy too. I
think it works either way. I just like to think that she wasn't, just because I feel like it for me, I like the fact that she went there because she felt sad and guilty and wanted to help him because she actually felt some sort of remorse for him, and then came
not to just get shot,
right?
Because she was just so done.
But then came in and then just knew it was Angel and just like felt like she just needed to say it, like as if she was talking to Angel.
Yeah. No, I think that works very well story-wise. It's just an interesting concept. That's funny that like we all kind of like wrote it down.
We're on the same wavelength.
This is amazing. Amazing. Good analysis, guys. Good analysis. All right. Yeah. So the gang figures out that Buffy's gone, see the poster. They go to the school. Giles says that James is calling her, that he needs her to reenact what happened on the night he killed Grace, that he wants to change things and make a happy ending. Will is like, she's going to get shot. And Giles is like, the school is deserted. There's no way for James to play his part. There's no man inside for him to possess. No, there is not a man. There's a demon, though. And Angelus, fun facts about wasps. There is footage, I will definitely post it, of David Boreanaz acting out this scene, and he's, instead of saying wasps, he says, fun fact about wops.
Wait, I haven't seen this. What?
Yeah, it's a behind the scenes on YouTube. And then he goes, wait a minute, I'm so sorry, I just said wops, and everybody just starts dying laughing.
I haven't
Wop
seen
before
this.
it was a thing.
I know,
right? Gosh.
Yeah, so go look it up on YouTube. It's hilarious.
I love how you assumed I had seen it just because I
thought you'd seen it. Sorry,
that's funny. I know I've never seen that.
Tabby did have some insight regarding, like, because I think when we were watching it, I had mentioned that, like, it's kind of giving off, like, the plagues and the, I don't know, Tabby, you want to go in more into that?
Sure. I mean, like, one of my favorite childhood movies is The Prince of Egypt, and it's just a phenomenal DreamWorks, like, masterpiece. If you haven't seen it, you need to go see it. Just truly just
or just listen to the soundtrack,
literally,
man.
Yes. But it just gave me kind of vibes of like, so in the movie, God had, and in the like the Bible too, it's not just like in the movie, but he put like the 10 plagues on Egypt, waiting for them to return as people who were slaves. And he kept it going until he like made it stop when they did what he asked them to do. And so I kind of got the same vibes of James, where he's like, I'm going to keep doing all these things. The wasps and the snakes are what we see. And in the movie and/or the Bible, it has locusts as one of them, and then it has frogs as another. And so that just kind of gave me huge vibes where he's like, I'm going to give you all these trials and give you all these things until my spell and/or what I want from you.
See, I got the same thing, but kind of from a different movie. I was reminded of The Mummy.
Oh, another great one.
I think the 90s or whatever, where
the book or the movie. Just kidding.
The movie. Obviously.
Which one has Brendan Fraser in it? The movie.
Yeah, for real.
Oh my gosh.
But I kind of just got like vibes because it's like the same thing where like the mummy, in order to get what he wants, he brings plagues and like all this stuff. So I got huge vibes from that.
I think it's symbolic of when we repress emotions, especially bitterness and stuff, it comes out in other ways, regardless of whether we mean it to or not. And so I think James's subconscious is lashing out because he's in so much pain. And I think that's what it's supposed to be. But yeah, I definitely felt like the 10 plagues was like, all right, what's next? I was waiting for Cordelia to turn on the water in the sink and the blood to come out and stuff,
Actually,
Or you could think of Hercules where he's like, what's next? A bag of locusts?
that's it. I'm moving to Sparta. Like one cricket pops up and he's like, that's it. I'm moving.
All right. So he says, Angela says that tonight is special. He wanted to look his best for Buffy. Do you guys think Angelus came to kill Buffy?
Well, yeah, they said that.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, never mind.
I think
got
he
that.
probably thought it was a
Wouldn't it be the
a
first
good
time he killed someone in
opportunity.
this school?
I know, right? Like when Drusilla told him she's dancing with death, like he probably thought, great, this is a great opportunity. Let me get her.
I think Spike was also baiting him too. And so I think he was like, all right, fine, I'm going to go kill her. See, I'll show you. She doesn't bother me. Yeah. But yeah,
It's true.
I never caught that before. This is my first time watching it and going, oh, shoot. I think he was like there to like do some damage.
Little did he know.
Yeah.
Gonna get some
seriously.
smoochies instead and get shot.
And be infected.
He comes back and just aggressively showering himself.
Violated with love.
He's like, I wanted to kill people tonight. Didn't think I was making out with my ex-lover and getting shot.
So disgusting. All right. So these scenes were filmed first with Meredith Salinger and then Christopher Gorham, who played Grace and James. This was so that the film could be watched and analyzed by Sarah and David when it came to their turn to filming it, which is why it mirrors itself so well. And it also speaks to just the talent of both actors. I mean, it is hard to find actors that, in the Buffyverse at least, that can match the caliber of these two, especially when they're together, and the emotion. Could you imagine being cast and being like, yeah, so you have to portray one of the greatest loves of all time? You know what I mean? That would be so much pressure, and they really nailed it. They did a good job. There's also behind the scenes footage of Sarah Michelle Gellar, kind of not breaking down, but just saying, I'm too tired. I can't do this. And David Boreanaz, touching her face and being like, it's okay. You can do it.
Was that this
It's
episode? I thought it was Innocence.
No, it's this episode. Isn't that so sweet?
Oh, I love that clip. I know. So sweet.
Yeah.
You guys gotta send me that. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I'll post
I'll send
it.
it to you.
Yeah, it's really great. And I think, imagine the emotional toll this must have taken to work through all of this. I just, props to her. And they're shooting at night too. It's late, it's dark, they're tired.
Mm-hmm.
And Sarah Michelle Gellar said many times this was very hard because David was kind of her person on set that she really relied on. And so having him play someone that was causing so much of an emotional toll for her character that she had to work through was exhausting for her. And so it added to another layer of exhaustion and stuff. And so he tried to be as helpful as he could in between scenes. It's just really precious.
That is precious. Oh, but again, the
And
series,
people
you
say
can't,
they weren't in love.
yeah,
Seriously.
You
They
can't,
dated.
not go through this series and not have an emotional toll. I can't
Oh, yeah.
assume that none of these actors didn't come back with something.
Seriously. So Buffy still isn't facing him. You're the only person I can talk to. Gosh, Buff, that's really pathetic. Suddenly, Buffy spins around, except this time it's James's words coming out of her mouth, not Grace's. So I was going to read. I wrote down what the other characters or the other couples said and compared it to what Buffy and Angel said because there's slight variations in the wording. So you can't make me disappear when you say it's over is what the janitor says. Buffy says, you can't make me disappear just because you say it's over. Just because you say it's over, not when you say it's over. It's putting it into the present tense. And then the teacher, there's no way we can be together. No way people will ever understand, accept it. Angel doesn't actually say that line. That's when he approaches her and says, actually, I can. In fact, and then is that what this is about? What other people think is what the janitor said, but Buffy doesn't say it. They kind of just like skip over that part simply because it's not really relevant to the characters. So the teacher says, no, I just want you to be able to have some kind of a normal life. We can never have that, don't you see? Angelus says the same thing. Teacher, I don't give a damn about a normal life. I'm going crazy not seeing you. I think about you every minute. Buffy also says the same words. Teacher, I know. She goes in to touch his face, but it's over. It has to be. And we see, instead of Angel going in to touch Buffy's face, we see Grace as she goes to touch James' face. I know, but it's over. It has to be. And then it pans over and we see Angelus touching Buffy's face. But do you guys notice that he's wearing his clawdaw ring? And the heart is still pointed at the fingers, which is just another symbolic reminder that he doesn't belong to her anymore. It's really sad. The whole it's over, it has to be, and the ring's there, to kind of like a visual representation. It's just well
Or just
done.
reminding us, like, their relationship, like, you're not going to have a normal life. Like, they would never have a normal life. Like,
Yeah.
you know, just every single dialect within these lines is extremely, like it's just so good.
Yeah. No, it
Or
totally
that their
is.
hearts can never really belong to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like they love each other, but they can never have, like
A normal
Buffy
life.
/ James said, then a normal life, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah. And then the janitor says, come back here. We're not finished yet. You don't care anymore. Is that it? Buffy says, come back here. We are not finished. She doesn't say finished yet. Again, Buffy talks about things in the present tense, not a finished yet. It's very interesting, like the subtle word choice there. It's very much like I'm still hanging on to hope. Obviously, finished yet is as well, but the wording is just slightly different connotation. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What I feel is the same. Then tell me you don't love me. Say it. Same. Will that help? Is that what you have to hear? I don't. Now let me go. You see Grace. Is that what you need to hear? Will that help? I don't. And then we switch to Buffy, and then we hear their theme song very briefly as Angelus says, I don't. Now let me go. Ugh. And then you see Buffy, no, a person doesn't just wake up and stop loving somebody, which is different from what the janitor says. No, a person doesn't just wake up one day and stop loving somebody. It has the one day. Buffy saying doesn't just wake up and stop loving somebody is a very clear callback. It's not, we're not just talking about any one day. We're talking about a specific day. Like, it's very clear. And we see James and Buffy pull out a gun. Buffy, I'm not afraid to use it. I swear, if I can't be with you. Angelus, oh my God. Buffy chases Angel out onto the balcony. Stop it. Don't make me. Angel, all right. Just give me the gun. I know you don't want to do this. Let's both just calm down. And now we finally see Grace. We see this moment. We've seen the moment where Grace dies. We didn't see the moments leading up to it. And the gun goes off. And the gang hears the shot. That would have been terrifying if you're over there like, oh no.
I think it makes it even more sad because this whole time we've been thinking that, you know, he killed her like maliciously out of like anger and like all this stuff.
Yeah.
But we see that this was clearly an accident, which I think makes it even more sad because that's exactly what Buffy went through.
Even though he still had the gun pointed at her head,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah. No.
Accident. I didn't mean to shoot
Yeah, I
her.
just was like trying to scare her.
obviously- I mean, obviously, like he had intentions with the gun and stuff, but I truly believe he would have never fired it on purpose. Like, I think he was just so caught up in anger, and then you see him react, and it was in the middle of him saying something, like, it was absolutely an accident.
Yeah, I think I think the one thing that I have to try to remember too is that, like, these are all teenagers. They're doing teenage things, being stupid and being like, not that all teenagers are stupid, but like literally scientifically speaking, they're not using their full, like, you know, rational senses. And so, like, for him, he's in a moment of blind passion. And I totally agree with Leah, where I don't think that, like, I think he was using the gun as scare because he's just very impulsive right now. He's just like, you know, I want her back. I got to get her. Like, maybe this will, like, scare her back. You know, who knows? But I don't think it was, like, malicious intent. I think it was, like, that I'm at my last resort. Maybe, you know, who knows? You know, who knows when people are in that state that they do that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, not trying to like excuse, but definitely like the look of horror and shock on Buffy's face when it goes off is supposed to mirror how James was feeling, and it was very clear it was not intentional.
But also, this is the first time I've picked this up on this rewatch, but only Buffy says this out of everyone else, where she says, "Don't treat me like I'm such a," and she was about to say kid before she shot him. And we've seen throughout their whole relationship, or not whole their relationship, but like throughout the last couple seasons, where it's like sometimes he'll make decisions because he'll be like, "But Buffy, you're still 17. But Buffy, you're still so young. You don't know what you want. You look into the future and you want all these things." And she's like, "But I want you." So I think that like for her, she's like, I may be young. She's like, but I know that I loved you and I know that what we had was real. So by her saying that, it's like don't talk to me like I'm someone who doesn't know what I'm feeling or doesn't know what I'm going through. Like I'm going through some real things, even though I'm so young.
Yeah. Yeah, especially, and I don't even think Angel was the only one that would do that, you know, like Giles, her mom, I think they, in School Hard, that was the whole emphasis of that she was just being treated like a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And clearly we've talked about this before, like the expectations that's put on her is so adult-like, and yet they're over there like, oh my gosh, like, and then when she has moments where she is a teenager, they're like, well, stop acting like a teen, but then they're like, but then Buffy, you have a great responsibility. So it's very like,
it's like when it's convenient.
Yeah. And it makes sense why that would take an emotional toll on her, you know? We see the switch back and forth as both Angel and Grace fall to the floor and Buffy and James go to the music room. And then Angel's eyes open. It speaks a lot to this episode that you're like, oh my gosh, she shot Angel. And you see him down there and there's like a moment where you're like, okay, like, does it affect him differently, you know? But yeah, this is just brilliant. Music room, Buffy goes to the record player and plays I Only Have Eyes for You by the Flamingos, the song that we saw Grace and James dancing to earlier on. Fun fact, this song was also briefly featured in the Grudge 2's trailer that Sarah Michelle Gellar was in. Isn't that funny? It's a theatrical trailer.
I mean, it is a creepy song.
Yeah. Now it is, now that we've like, you know.
Now.
Yeah. It's like Tiptoe Through the Tulips is completely just like ruined for me.
No.
Thank you for that.
I know. Thanks for the nightmares now.
Forgot about that.
Serves you guys right. You're over here talking about skeletons in the river and poltergeist. That's like my nightmare.
That's fair.
That's 10 times worse, I feel. Oh my gosh, Insidious gave me legit.
Insidious was
How
very
is
terrifying.
real skeletons like less than a song?
Yeah. Thank you, Leah. Thank you.
I'm with you, Sarah. Skeletons for the win.
No, that's definitely scarier. Like, wait, what's the movie? Insidious.
Yeah.
I actually didn't find Insidious as scary just because it's all like fake, the realms and stuff. But it's like if it's paranormal stuff or just stuff that like happens, that freaks me the heck out. I'm like, no, thank you.
Yeah. No, I am 100% with you. Everything like Conjuring. Oh no.
Yep. No, thank you. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Buffy looks in the mirror, sees James staring back at her while she lifts the gun up to her head, but is stopped by Angel/Grace. And I love that we don't see any more flashbacks to Grace. We only see Angel at this point because it's very, very important. Don't do this, Buffy, but I killed you. Angel, it was an accident. It wasn't your fault, Buffy, but it is my fault. How could I? Angel, hush. I'm the one who should be sorry. James, you thought I stopped loving you. I never did. I loved you with my last breath.
Oh my
And it makes sense because in Surprise, we hear him yell Buffy as he turns into Angelus. Like he's thinking of her till the very end. Oh my gosh.
Even Angelus.
Get us in the heart, man.
Oh.
Literally.
We see Grace and James kiss, then Buffy and Angel as a bright glow goes over their head and James and Grace finally have peace. And then they keep kissing for a minute. They don't stop. And Buffy...
It's a sloppy one, too. Like...
It's a wet one, for
It's
sure.
one of those where you see the string. I'm like, oh, okay. They're going
What if it was just like Sarah Michelle Gellar and David who just were caught in the moment? They're like, keep rolling, don't stop them. We'll figure it out.
I don't know if you guys knew this, but I remember like when they had to shoot, like, I think it was probably in the earlier, like in season 1 when when David and Sarah were like having to do the makeout scenes. David wanted to take the total non-serious route and like would eat like so much garlic and so much stinky stuff so that his breath would be gross and disgusting and make it extremely hard to kiss him.
Jennifer Lawrence and Liam Hemsworth in the Hunger Games would do the same thing. They would have like eat outs of like disgusting
tuna and
food.
pickles and relish and all that good stuff. Yep.
Why do they think that's funny? I've heard of several different actors doing that. I'm like,
I think
why?
they do it to kind
Make
of
it fun?
like, cut the tension. It probably helps a lot with the tension of it all. Yeah, but it also like is probably funny to watch the other person have to struggle through having to like kiss you while you're like
and enjoy it.
Yeah, and act like they enjoy it while you know that they're dying inside. There's like,
I couldn't do the scene though. I'd be like, I'm sorry, I really
I'm
can't.
like repulsed right now. Y'all smell like fish. This is nasty.
Yeah.
Buffy, Angel, like, and you could tell she's kind of asking, like, is it you? Angelus growls, pushes her away, and I love that we don't see his reaction. It stays on Buffy as we just hear like desks clattering, like he's just running out the door.
But it's just so sad. Like, you see her have hope for like half a second thinking it's Angel.
And then she's just going back into that acceptance again.
Yep. In the library, everything is back to normal. The snakes and the wasps are gone. Giles goes to check on Buffy, who's sitting in his office. James picked me. I guess I was the one he could relate to. He was so sad. Giles, well, they can both rest now. Buffy, part of me just doesn't understand why she would forgive him. Giles, does it matter? Buffy, no, I guess not. And Giles smiles. He knows that Buffy finally understands. And I think in some ways, Buffy's guilt was a shield for Angelus. Her whole give me time and innocence. And in a lot of ways, she's shed that and now can do what she needs to do and move forward. Like, she hasn't forgiven Angelus, but she knows that that doesn't matter in the long scheme of things because she can rest knowing that she did nothing wrong. And I think it's important to remember that, like, forgiveness doesn't have a specific time frame and it takes time. And I think that fact that Buffy's open to forgiveness now is enough for right now. And it is a change and she can move forward through that process.
I think one of the saddest parts in this episode is right here when she talks first about how she found it was interesting that James chose her because he could relate to her, and then follows that up with saying he was so sad. Rather than saying, like, I've been going through a lot of things, she's like, he could relate to me. He was so sad, saying that, like, she herself has just been really heartbroken.
Well, I think even, too, just masking it over, like, she was masking that sadness with anger this whole episode pretty much. And, like, that's kind of like how James was doing with the whole, events of the poltergeist. He was just angry. He was violent. And deep down, he was sad. And, she illustrates that, too. And just like looking at those stages of grief, like, anger and sadness, like if you lose somebody, you can see so many times often depicted in shows or in movies when somebody is so sad, the loss of a loved one, they're going to act in anger, they're going to act in violence. Like, they correlate so much, especially in grief, that I think that was really portrayed well in this episode.
The fact that Buffy can acknowledge that is huge. I think that, like you said, the anger was there. And she kept, I'm angry. And she also now finally understands James and has compassion for him versus she just like couldn't understand him and was angry at him. So it's a whole new level of forgiveness and understanding. And we finally kind of get to see Buffy a little bit back. So in the mansion, Angelus is scrubbing himself furiously in the garden waterfall. Spike, you might want to let up. They say when you've drawn blood, you've exfoliated. Angelus, what do you know about it? I'm not the one who was freaking violated. You didn't have this thing in you, which I was like, double meaning. He's talking about James and Angel, his soul.
I think it's so interesting that, like, I don't know, we're seeing Angelus react this way, even though, because it's like, usually you would just kind of see him shrug it off and be like, well, that was annoying. But, like, one, I think it reminded him of the thing he hates the most, which is humanity. But I think it's also just interesting that, like, we're just seeing his, like, anger towards love, towards Buffy, towards humanity.
Yeah. And I mean, it's ironic because technically Angelus is the one that's violating Angel. It's Angel's body. Angelus is taking over that. So it's like, for once, Angelus is getting a taste of his own medicine. Like, he's feeling what Angel feels like all the time. Drusilla, what was it a demon? Angelus, love. Poor Angel.
I just love how dramatic it is. Like, he's just like so dramatic with like, I was violated. Like, oh my gosh, get out
Angelus
of here.
is so melodramatic.
Not even just mellow, it's straight up like
Yeah.
full blown drama over here.
I love Drusilla taking the water that Angelus sprayed everywhere and tasting it. Either she's relishing in his pain so much so that she wants to taste it,
Or she's turned on.
or she's craving that love for herself. Like, she's like, love. You know what I mean? Like,
Wow.
it's just, yeah.
You have
it's
Spike.
Like, Spike
I don't
doesn't
know.
give her enough love.
I think that she's relishing in his pain because she finds pleasure in pain.
quite possibly.
Yeah, she's sick.
Yeah.
Which we love.
Which we love. Angelus, let's get out of here. I need a real vile kill before sunup to wipe this crap out of my system. Drusilla, of course, we'll find you a nice toddler.
Oh.
Like, honestly, I was like, no, not toddler. Have you ever met a
I
toddler?
know, it's like, as a parent, you're like, oh, not my toddler.
Yeah, well, but like, seriously, toddlers are kind of like cruel and vicious. I mean, babies, yes, but toddlers, I'm like, are you sure they're so innocent? Like, I don't know that that's really gonna do much of anything.
Terrible.
Yeah,
Dude.
you should meet Gwen.
Try messing with Gwen.
So Drusilla growls very seductively and predator-like at Angel, and then immediately just turns and looks at Spike and goes, "Want to come, pet?" Like, she's like one way with Angelus and another way with Spike, which Spike wants to be seen as vicious and in control, and that's what he sees as manly and tough. He doesn't want to be talked down to like he needs to be babied. And so, like, I just feel bad for Spike all around. I think he's just getting the short end of the stick.
I don't think it's that often either. I know I could be wrong, but maybe I don't feel like it's that often where Drew calls him pet. It's almost always he calls her pet, you know, as in like he is the dominant one and she's the submissive one. But right now, obviously, roles are reversed.
Yep. And that, I think that's the whole point of this episode. Roles are reversed, right? And I mean, they've been like this since Surprise, when Drusilla has taken the dominant little Tabby.
And she's the female. It's all the females that are dominant in this episode. Ah.
Ooh, yeah.
Aha.
These radical feminists.
With their hairy legs.
The hairy leg feminist
Above his
and
time.
the vegans.
I know.
So Spike looks down as Angelus comes back and says, "No can do, Drew." And Angelus like puts himself between them and stands there and like has his back to Spike as he's talking about him. Like, he's not even there. It's so humiliating. I'm sure he'd be hell on wheels, but we don't have much time. Gotta travel light. Pat.
Please, the Hell on Wheels line had me dead. I'm sure he'd be Hell on Wheels. And you just, I think I would disintegrate if someone was saying that about me and I was in a wheelchair. Like, I think I would collapse.
I would
That's
dust
so
myself
funny.
if I were a vamp. I'd be like, all right,
No,
that's
for
enough
real,
life for me.
That's the last straw.
I think he was, and he just saved it till they walked out.
That's it. I'm moving to Sparta.
Well, guys, it's even worse because when we meet Spike in School Hard, he's literally hell on wheels. Like, he comes in on his car, like mows down the sign. That's like his that's who he is. That's the persona he puts on. And so Angelus is just, I mean, like, how insulting. He's just insulted like every part of Spike. Like, yeah. Puts his hands on Spike's shoulders. "Sorry, try to have fun without me." Both he and Drew take off, with Drew not even looking back at her. You notice how she just like runs up behind Angelus, doesn't even look back at Spike. Oh my goodness, Drusilla, you had it all. Spike smiles sinisterly. "Oh, I will." He stands up from his wheelchair, kicks it violently. "Sooner than you think."
The ultimate power move.
I think he's just a big toddler kicking.
No,
and
not
he's like,
kicking. the
no,
thing.
not the wheelchair.
Not kicking the wheelchair, but like standing up, playing the long game. Like, we're seeing a way smarter side of Spike that we haven't seen yet.
Totally. Yeah.
I just still think that the idea of them not even going all the way up the stairs, he has this whole like monologue, and then they're like, "What was that, Spike?" And he's just standing there.
I just feel like the way he kicked it's just like, you vampires and you're dramatic. Like,
I
the
love
heck?
it. I love it.
And we've talked about parallels between Spike and Buffy before, but this is an interesting one. Just as Buffy forgives herself and finds freedom in moving forward and strength to once again to try to challenge Angel, so does Spike. He also finds the strength to get out of his chair and fight for Drew. And I think that that's a really interesting parallel. So, all right, we did it, you guys. We did it. We finished it. That was a really good episode. I think that we had some good analysis and some good stuff to talk about. Well, thank you so much, Destiny, for joining us. I've really enjoyed this, and you really gave us some good stuff to think about. And I love that there's someone else who's participating that has watched the show for longer than I have. I think that you have some really good thoughts, and we'll definitely have to have you on here again for future seasons.
I would love that.
It'd be so fun.
Again, I just love having friends to talk about Buffy.
Yeah,
I know.
That's what we're here for.
you.
That's why we started the podcast.
We have a Instagram if you want to follow us there. It's Becoming Buffy Podcast on Instagram, or you can email us with any questions or concerns or stuff that we missed, stuff that you want to talk about on becomingbuffypodcast@gmail.com. As always, thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Destiny. It's been so fun. You need to come back.
I definitely loved this. This was just so sweet and so fun. And again, just being able to see Buffy in a new light with friends. And just, everything about it was just, I loved it.
Thank you guys, and we will see you guys next time.